Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the IP3 podcast. I'm Kevin.
I'm Rhea.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be talking through heavy hitters from a limited standpoint. This is something that we're hoping to do for all future draftable sets as much as possible. And basically, we're going to go through card by card and give our impressions on, sort of how they stack up against one another uh, in your first, 5 to 6 picks of a draft, pack one. Uh, Rhea, you want to
Yeah,
talk through
so
our grading system?
so specifically, we're going to be using a plus minus letter grade today, and we all individually have gone and given each card in the set a grade, and we've averaged those out. They'll be available in a spreadsheet for you to see below, included in the description. And just so you know, kind of like what headspace we were in as we were assigning these grades. So we start with A's. These are the best cards in the set. These are the reason that you want to play a specific hero. Examples from Bright Lights are like Terminator Tank or Overload Script. Examples from Outsiders are things like Shakedown, Collapsing Trap, Codex of Frailty. Bs are frequently the best cards in your deck, and they're kind of what guide you into a reason to play a class or hero. Things like Boom Grenade or Jumpstart or Junkyard Dog, and for outsiders, things like Bonds of Ancestry or Death Touch or the Lacewith cycle. Cs are kind of expendable. They're the pawns of limited. If you're familiar with this grading scale, your deck will mostly be Cs, and you aren't unhappy playing them. These are things like Full Tilt or Gas Up, or things like the red stealth cards Wither, Descendant Gustwave, or Destructive Deliberation from Outsiders. And then lastly, Ds are playable, but you aren't really happy to have them in your deck. These are things like Quickfire or 0 to 50 from Bright Lights, and Plunge or 1-2 Punch from Outsiders. And then there are Fs. You just aren't going to play Fs. They're probably for constructed or just too hard to bring together in your average draft. Think things like Moonshot or Prismatic Lens or Amplifying Arrow, Codex of Inertia, cards like these.
Another thing, quickly before we get started, is a lot of these cards and heavy hitters are quite situational. Like there's a ton of dual class cards that are fantastic in one of the classes and just okay in the other class. So we're not going to give them two different ratings for each class because that would take way too long. So it'll just kind of get averaged out. And we'll talk about the specifics when we get to those specific cards.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, we'll dive right in. We're going to go through in the card gallery order, so like by collector's number. So we're going to start right at the top, and we're even going to start with weapons here. So we've got Mandible Claw as the token brute weapon. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but this is what you get by default if you draft no other weapons and end up playing a brute. It is a 3-power, one-handed brute claw weapon. Once per turn, action, pay 2 to attack. If you've discarded a card with 6 or more power, it gains go again. It's going to be the bread and butter of most brute decks you're going to see out of heavy hitters. I think that you probably always play it in KO, and I think you play at least one in Rhinar. And if you're playing Rhinar and you also draft another weapon, that's fine. But always having one claw, at least on our two-handed brutes, kind of is a free roll.
And I think the token weapons, all of them in general, just kind of by default end up being Cs, just because on average they are going to be your weapon, unless you happen to draft a rare weapon, right?
True.
Which is something I really am enjoying about heavy hitters is the like how you can draft a rare weapon. So it'll happen decently often, but it kind of changes how you build the whole deck, which I think is super interesting.
Well, speaking of, our next card is Ballbreaker. This is a brute weapon flail one-handed, 3 power. Once per turn action, pay 2 resources to attack, and if you've discarded a card with 6 or more power this turn, it gets +1, kind of a mini romping club if you've drafted Welcome to Wraith. Looks like we ended up at around a B+ on this, so definitely agreeing it's quite strong overall. I like this in Rhinar to pair with a Mandible Claw, because he has so many of the incentives to discard with the Intimidate. I don't know. What about y'all?
Yeah, I rated this an A because I figured it was a card to build around. If I see this pack one, pick 1, 2, or 3, I'm probably taking it and then looking at the rest of the cards to try to build out Rhinar because I'm going to be discarding, getting the Intimidate, and then 2 resources for 4, assuming that I've discarded, is great.
I view it a little more just as a free roll in Rhinar because the if you're already doing something where you're getting go again, then getting 1 extra point on the second weapon attack is just kind of a free roll. I put it as a B because I think it's good, but I don't think it like just straight pulls you immediately into I'm playing Rhinar now because I saw this card.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Our other brute non-token weapon is Mini Meat Axe, also a one-handed axe this time, still 3 power. Once per turn action, pay 2 resources to attack, and when it attacks, you draw a card and discard a random card. Now, this one definitely screams Rhinar to me. We're a bit lower on this card, though. It looks like averaging around a D+. Its weapon is fine. I think it will demand a very specific Rhinar build around of like tons of agility because you want to lead on your turn with this, get that free intimidate, and then like send your real attacks, right? Probably something that wagers afterwards.
Yeah, I'm much lower on this. I'm like a D. I think I'm probably running Claw over this anyways, because even if I have the agility and I'm starting my turn with the mini meat axe, that means I've planned out my turn, I haven't blocked anything, and then I'm gonna draw and then discard a random card. So it just like it has the possibility of destroying my whole turn. So I think I'd rather just have the claw, the 2 for 3 guaranteed.
Yeah, agreed. The fact that you're always going to be losing a card from deck just to attack with this, and there's 0 guaranteed value from you putting yourself down a card. I just don't think it's gonna.
Yeah.
I think you'll see a lot of these pick 15.
The worst of the 3.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the next
Either
card
y'all,
is
yeah, want to read
the next card
Knucklehead?
is Apex Bonebreaker, which is a legendary, which you're not gonna be able to draft in sealed because it's gonna come or in draft because it's a legendary, so it's gonna come in the expansion slot. But in sealed, I mean, you're definitely gonna play it. But when this defends together with a card with 6 or more power, create a might token, and it has temper 2. So blocked for 2, and then 1, and then it'll be destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Easy route to 5 value. It's great. It's going to see playing constructed, but not really relevant for draft. Next up, we've got the KO specialization equipment called Knucklehead. Brute head equipment that has Temper 2, which is probably just the most important part of it is you draft this card and you've gained 3 life and the ability to cover up overpower better. And then its activated ability is an action. Destroy this. Roll a 6-sided die. Until end of turn, you lose. Your base intellect is the number rolled. So, 1/3 chance of drawing an extra card for the turn. Very fitting with the original KO motif of 1/3 chance of doubling the base power of an attack. I don't think that's going to get activated a whole lot in most high-level games of Flesh and Blood, but sometimes you're absolutely desperate and you're like, I think my best chance is to roll a die and hope to beat the odds and draw some extra cards right now.
I'm gonna make a bet that I activate this thing once in all of my heavy hitter drafts, and all the other times I probably will be blocking twice with it.
Yeah.
But Temper 2 is just excellent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be the epic story of, oh yeah, I was down 15 life and I rolled it and I rolled a 6 and I got 6 intellect, was able to block out their turn and still had like this massive turn they came back with. Yeah,
But
it'll
yeah,
be
I
it'll
think the
be
real
epic.
The real story here is Temper 2. We've given it a flat A across the board, starting with 15% more. Starting life is really good.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And the breakpoints are huge when people are going to be waging tokens left, right, and center, and having the equipment to cover the specific breakpoints to let you save cards in hand is going to be massive. On top of exactly as Ray said, just straight up having more life.
Well, we've got a bit of a contentious one next. So this is the Rhinar specialization head, Monstrous Veil, also a rare brute equipment head. This is Battle Worn 1, and as an action, you can destroy it, draw a card, then discard a random card with Go Again. And so it looks like you all have both given this a C. I'm at B plus here, so I think it was interesting that we've got a little bit of a disagreement here. Battle Worn 1, and then also getting an effect which is just literally a free intimidate if you've built your deck right and you like block with the right cards, I think is going to be very, very important for Reinhardt to close games in this format. It turns on your claw for free. It is an intimidate. It, I think, is just going to be a lot of glue in your late turns that makes this card better than it looks at a glance.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a Rhinar finisher, right? It's like, okay, with one more intimidate, I am guaranteed lethal in this situation. Okay, let's pop Monstrous Veil. Think, discard at random makes me inherently a little more nervous, and think about how the Rhinar cost curve is going to work. You either uh, sure, there's a world where you're set up with you get to lead with one cost buff, pitching a blue, floating 2 resources, and then you Monstrous Veil. Like you can finagle situations where the activation is pretty strict upside potentially, but I think that's just a little easier said than done. And then also, Battle Worn 1 versus Temper 2 is just
That is a big difference.
yeah.
Yeah. I rated it a C because I in the terms of I'm drafting, if I see this in the first like 1 through 5 or 6 picks, it it's not like oh, I need this card right now. It's because there's some other head slot equipment. So I'm just not like if I see this, I'm not like, oh, I'm going into Rhinar now because I've seen this. I just don't think it's that powerful of an equipment to like force me to go down that direction. I'm probably just taking another like dual class card or a generic card to hopefully stay more open.
Makes sense.
The
Next up.
next equipment we got raw meat. It's brute chest equipment. If you control an agility token, it gets +1 armor. If you control a might token, it gets +1 armor, and then it has temper. And then its base armor is being 0.
Yeah.
So if you control both agility and might, and you block with it, it's a temper 2 equipment. And then if you only have one of those when you block with it, it'll just be a temper 1 equipment, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So the ceiling on this card. So if you get lucky and you've got your token set up right when you need exactly just 2 block to cover a breakpoint. Obviously, that's the ceiling of this card. But things need to align for you to I guess get that value in the right moments. To me this reads more just like gain 3 life rather than I'll be there for you when you need me to cover a breakpoint, like with Knucklehead.
Yeah, that's fair. So this is a cycle. Each class has one of these. They're not necessarily chests, but they're temper, and they get +1 for the class tokens. I think this is the best of the three, and I've rated it a bit higher. I'm at a B minus compared to y'all. Also gave this a C, and I am specifically high on this because the card Agile Windup exists, and in KO, it on demand gives you both tokens, which makes this block for the full value.
that's rare. That's
It's
something
not
I
like
hadn't considered.
Mhm.
The reason I rated this just a C is because comparing it to the other test equipments that are available, like
That's
the
fair.
bigger girth that we'll talk about later, where it's just like block one or like create a vigor token.
Yeah, those are definitely a lot more flexible. I don't think you will be unhappy having a raw meat. Um, I might be a bit high on it though. Yeah, so we're like C plus C sounds about right, right?
Mm-hmm. And now we're to the first of the actual cards. We're not going to talk at length about the Majestics because they're not the bread and butter. It's going to be more of an aberration when you see a specific Majestic in a limited environment rather than something you're just commonly encountering. Um, so the first one we've got is the Brute Majestic Send Packing. It's a 3 cost, 2 pitch, 6 power attack that blocks 3. It's when this attacks a hero, banish a card from their arsenal. When the chain link resolves, if this didn't hit, return the banished card to its owner's hand. Um, I think the text on this card matters a lot more in constructed formats on average. Uh, that we're not in a set that has defense reactions. There's a few instance and tricky things like that, but nothing. There's no sync below or equivalent cards, so the text is a little more limited in what it's going to do. I think it's mostly looking at this card is just a vanilla 6 power most of the time.
Which is
Yeah,
exactly why I rated it a C. It's just a 3 power yellow 6 attack 3 block. Like the text is relevant sometimes. In limited, your opponent doesn't always have an arsenal. We're usually in constructed pretty often. So I just found this middle of the road, not picking it super highly if I see it in the first 5 picks.
yeah. I mean, I think the text is quite relevant, especially because there's probably random might tokens that are floating around, and putting this at 7 means you are eating like opponent's armor, or you are taking a card away from them. And anytime you can put an opponent down a card, even if it's like some random thing they put in their arsenal because it's limited and it didn't work with their hand, it still is a card that you're up, right?
Right.
I think it's quite good. I have it around a B plus. I don't think it's the best card in your deck necessarily, but a strong card.
Yeah, I ended up more B minus territory. Like I think there are other cards you're going to see more frequently that you're going to take over this, but you're also, you know, if you have a weird pack and you end up pack one picking this, you're not going to be overly disappointed.
So next we have Show No Mercy, the new Rhinar main deck specialization. This is a red 3 cost, brute action attack, 6 power, blocks 3. When this attacks a hero, intimidate them. And if the defending hero has no cards in hand, it gets +3 power. This card is deceptively strong, I think. We, spoiler alert, just have it as a flat A across the board. And of course, you think like, all right, well, there's one intimidate here, so you have to really work hard for the second intimidate to start to threaten your opponent to not have any cards in hand. But where this card really shines is if your opponent blocks out with all of their cards on your Show No Mercy, they then have no cards in hand, and so it's getting the buff. It's not like you have to have a quad intimidate for this card to buff itself. I think it just ends up being uh, just one of your best intimidate attacks in Rhinar in the set.
Yeah, this is a card that if I see it early in a pack, I'm grabbing it and then definitely looking for other Rhinar specific cards because this is a fantastic way to end the game. For example, if you can have this in Arsenal and get to set up a Monstrous Veil that hits, and now your opponent only has 2 cards left in hand because the Monstrous Veil will intimidate one, and then the Intimidate on Show No Mercy will intimidate one, and then they've got to block 2 cards, then it still gets its +3 buff. So even if they're the 3 blocks are left in their hand, it's still coming over for 3. It's a great way to end the game.
Yeah, and the fact that the intimidate on this is effectively free. The floor of the card is perfectly acceptable for limited, and it's the one of the main strengths of Reinar in this limited format is going to be the ability to close a game via Intimidate.
Yeah.
And this is just, quintessential that game plan. All right.
All right. Next on the list, we have Cast Bones. Uh, Majestic red, 0 cost, brute action that blocks 3. Reveal the top 6 cards of your deck. Create a might token for each card with 6 power or more revealed this way. Put the revealed cards on top of your deck in a random order. If you control 6 or more might tokens, create an agility token. So overall, we ended up on a C plus on this one. I rated it just a C because I feel like in limited you're much more constrained on deck building, so you can't always guarantee that you're gonna get the all the 6 powers on top of your deck to get the all the value out of this specific card. Uh, so I just thought it was a bit hard to line up, so it's fine. Kind of just like it not having go again also means that you're kind of using your turn to do this, or doing it at the end instead of something else. I just wasn't super impressed for it for limited at least.
Yeah, I think part of what holds this back is it's it's probably just a KO card, which, not that that singularly downgrades the grade, but like Reinar is not going to get as much out of this as KO ever will. And even in the limited environment, agility tokens are going to be harder to come by. Extra action points are going to be harder to come by than in constructed. So you're not, and you don't get the luxury of running, scab skins to try and just free roll an action point from time to time. And finding the room to get the good value out of cast bones is just not going to come up as often.
I do think the pick order on this card changes a lot depending on which pack you're in. Pack one, pick one, I'm taking Cast Bones and I'm just trying to live the KO dream, right? I'm just trying to draft a mono 6 deck outside of Cast Bones. Pack three, yeah, it's not very good. It's probably like a C minus or a D plus at that point in the draft. But I think it's a pretty strong pack one, pick one because you can build around it then for the rest of your picks. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best card in the world.
Yep.
Next, we have our KO main deck specialization card, Reckless Charge. This is a blue 0 cost brute action. It blocks 3. Roll a 6-sided die, gain action points equal to half the number rolled rounded down. You might recognize that line of text from Scabskin Leathers, the legendary equipment. And if you've rolled a 6 on a die this turn, draw a card. Yeah, so I have this at a D minus. You will play it because it is a blue 3 block, and you will never resolve its ability. It's an awful card.
Yeah, it's more of a long shot to get played than Knucklehead is to get activated. Is
Yeah.
basically how I view it. Um, yeah, I just, extra action points tend to not be worth an entire card on their own.
All right, so Kevin and I both have given it D, D minus. Alex, B?
Yeah, might be slightly too high, but just looking at blue 3 block is like the the minimum for limited in my mind, and then being able to play it and it's basically if Scabskin Leathers costed resources, but also then lets you draw a card if you drew a 6. It's definitely a Hail Mary play, so probably not deserving of a B, honestly, but uh, I'd probably go C.
It
Just
does
Okay.
it does gain bonus points in a format where being a 3 block non-attack action has real value into the Warriors and most of their
yeah,
cards.
a
Yeah,
lot of
that
their
is true.
stuff gets better if you block with attack actions, so it being not an attack specifically, and also blue, and also 3 block gives it some points, but you guys are probably right that it's probably not a B. I'll give it a C. You guys can keep it at D, and we'll just agree to disagree.
Deal.
But but next on the list, we have another contested item here. It's No Fear, a red zero cost brute instant, so no defense. As an additional cost to play this, banish any number of cards with 6 or more power from your hand. At the beginning of the end phase, return them to your hand. The next time you would be dealt damage this turn, prevent X of that damage, where X is 2 plus the number of cards banished to play this. So, long story short, banish your in KO 5, 6 plus cards that don't block to then get them to block and prevent the damage. We as a team have rated this a B minus, me being a B because I think being able to have this in Arsenal as a pseudo D-react, knowing that if my hand happens to line up that it's 4, uh, 5, 6, or 7 power, with the assuming that you're playing KO, you can then banish, and then this is blocking for 6, and it's not an attack, so it's not buffing all the things that the warrior is doing. Just a card that blocks 6 potentially. But even at minimum, if you just banish your 1 no block from hand, it's still blocking 3 from Arsenal, and then you get the card back to pitch into the weapon or whatever. I don't know. I don't see the I don't see a lot of downside with this card other than it being red and not blocking. But if you can score it and put it in Arsenal, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, so I like this card a lot as a D-react or a pseudo D-react. There are quite a few reactions in the set. I'm concerned because you can basically only use this on attacks that don't have go again, because otherwise you're dumping cards out of hand that you then can't block your opponent's second attack with. And there's a lot of agility in the set. Warrior especially is trying to swing 2 weapons. And so I'm concerned that the cost of banishing, even though you get those cards back, is limits how often you can use this card compared to something like the instant block 2 cycles that make tokens that we'll talk about later. It's fine. It is a D-react, essentially. It's like a C+. It'll be a fine card in your deck.
Yeah, I guess the general lack of, there aren't defense reactions. There are some defensive instant speed tricks and a few other things like that, but it might just be worth rating higher just for the sheer absence of that other stuff, and how unique it is and what it can potentially do. Uh, and obviously the ceiling's amazing, right? The ceiling is I prevented 6 damage with 1 card, which is absurdly strong and limited. And also, okay, well, someone can come in overpower for 8, and you throw down a 3 block, and then you no fear and just cover it up and still get 3 cards back is crazy. The ceiling is definitely there. I just question. Yeah, I don't know. There's just, I think, still plenty of other things you would take first over this.
It's a red instant, so you've got some dangers in picking it and playing it, but the upside is definitely there for it.
For sure. Next up, we've got Beast Mode. Beast Mode is a brute attack action. There's a cycle of it, so it comes in all 3 colors. Costs 3, attacks for 6, 5, or 4. Blocks for 3, and then if you've intimidated this turn, this gets +2. And looks like we were all pretty medium on this card. It's fine.
Yeah.
It does its job. If you are lucky enough to have intimidated, you get some extra points of value. And at the end of the day, it's a card that blocks for 3, which is always going to be valuable in these limited environments. But yeah, this is just, you're not writing home about this one, but when there's a red 6 with upside to take in a pack, sure.
This is one of your bread and butter cards is Reinar, and it's one of the cards you're hoping to get like pick 9 or 10 if you've correctly identified your seat.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
Yeah.
it.
It's just kind of the workhorse of brute. Kind of just does a little bit of everything for both brutes, and it's gonna be fine every time you pick it.
Our next cycle is Patch Call. This is a reprint from the Dorinthia versus Rhinar pre-constructed decks, and it comes in all 3 colors this time. So at red, it is a brute action attack, cost 3, 7 attack, 3 block. When this defends, reveal the top card of your deck. If it has 6 or more power, put it on top. Otherwise, put it on bottom. Yellow attacks for 6, blue attacks for 5. We're a bit divided on this card, but it's primarily me that seems a bit lower than y'all on it. This card is good at setting up your draw discards for things like Bear Fangs and Wild Ride. But I feel like beyond that, it primarily is just serving a role as a Raging Onslaught. So like it's fine, but I don't think it's excellent. I have it at like a C, C plus.
Yeah, and I rated this a B because I rated Beast Mode, the previous card, a C. Pack Call, it's just another workhorse, but it's just +1 damage. So Beast Mode being a 3 for 6, and now Pack Call being a 3 for 7. That's just better. And the blue Pack Call being a 3 for 5, which then in KO means that if he's discarding it or revealing it or whatever, means it's a 6 still. And if I'm choosing between Beast Mode and Pack Call, it's gonna be Pack Call every time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely, yeah, and it's not a situation like there was Scout the Periphery in Outsiders that was like you could look at the top card of a person's deck, and so if you're playing Azalea, you could use that to know if the top of your deck was a brick for Azalea activation or not. But like this as a defensive trick and value like goes past that because if there's a whiff on top, it fixes it for you. It gives you a redo on what you're going to be hitting next. So um, yeah, I think Pack Call is very solid and not a card you're going to be disappointed to have in your deck in basically any color.
Yep. The next one we've got is Rawhide Rumble, which is another rare cycle. Uh, Costs 2, attacks for 6, 5, 4, blocks for 3. Has the keyword Beat Chest. So as an additional cost to play this, you may discard a card with 6 or more power, which is new in heavy hitters. And then when this attacks a hero, if you've beaten chest this turn, intimidate them. So that can be this beat chest that's triggered on this card, or if you've beat chest on a previous attack or non-attack action, it will also trigger this intimidate. We've got the red one rated a B, and then the other colors rated C. Um, See this kind of a Rhinar leaning card, but it's also kind of just another workhorse of just like a good brute attack. You're not gonna write home about it, but you're not gonna like pack 2, pick 5 or 6 or 7. Like cool, I got one of these. Sweet,
I,
happy to see it.
I honestly, the more I read this card and think about it, the more I think like that this could be in A territory. And we can talk about the real reason for that is because of the common Bonebreaker Bellow. That's the only non-attack that lets you beat chest. It fits in the cost curve of playing Rawhide Rumble, and if you play that non-attack, beat chest on the non-attack, follow up with Rawhide Rumble, and you're playing Rhinar, you're coming in for 6 plus whatever the buff was for on a triple intimidate, and that's a heck of a turn in limited.
Yeah, that's fair. That's one of those. It's situational. It's less good in KO, but if you can set that specific turn up in Rhinar, it's absolutely incredible. So in that case, it's probably an A, but KO, where you're not beat chesting a ton, you don't get a ton of value from multiple intimidates like Reinhardt does. It's probably just okay. So,
Yeah, agreed. There are other cards that are similar and better for KO decks, but as a Rhinar card, Rawhide Rumble is very strong. I think.
Yeah, I think y'all covered it already.
Next up,
Okay.
we've got Assault and Battery. Brute attack action comes in full rainbow as it's a common. Costs 3, attacks 4, 7, 6, or 5. When this attacks, if you've beaten chest this turn, create an agility token, and it has beat chest itself. Um, so this card is just a great, like, sort of a setup card, right? A 3 card hand that you can, um, throw out 7 damage, which is a solid, respectable amount in limited. You set yourself up with an agility token for next turn. If you are Rhinar, you mess with how they're going to want to block because you're intimidating due to the beat chest. Uh, or if you're KO, you're similarly setting yourself up with a might token for the following turn. So uh, Assault and Battery is very high on my draft priority list.
Yep. Yeah, I think this card's great. Raging Onslaught's a good card. This lets you turn an extra card in your hand into an agility. It's just really good.
All right.
So what we end up on like a B minus C for the blue because it's not a popper or it's not a 6 power. My illusionist brain is sneaking in.
Yeah, because it's not a popper. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so like a solid B scaling down to a C. Um,
Just another workhorse brute card. Now, if we're talking about real powerhouses, we talk about Bare Fangs, which is another cycle. So red, yellow, blue. Cost 2, comes in for 6, 5, 4, and then it does not block. But when this attacks, draw a card, then discard a random card. If a card with 6 or more power is discarded this way, it gets +2. So possibly 2 resource 8, assuming that you draw and discard a 6 power card. So we've got the the red one averaged out at an A, which I rated it an A because I think if you're playing a brute, there are very few cards in a pack that you will pick over this. Just what the caveat of it not blocking hurts, but being able to 2 card 8 in limited is too incredible. And if you're playing KO and you discard a 6, then you get might token, so it's 2 card 9. Or if you're playing Reinar and you discard a 6, then it's 2 card 8 and you get an intimidate. I think it's just everything that Brute wants to be doing.
yeah, just overall very solid. And obviously you don't want too high of a volume of the no block cards because the dreaded, oh well, I've got 3 no blocks on hand, I guess I just die. But on very powerful offensive cards like Bear Fangs, the fact that it can't block is a blessing in disguise at times because you should be attacking with that card. It's just even if it could block for 3, it's so much stronger on offense. Um,
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that it's just strong enough that the yellow counts as a 6 in KO, which is what makes the cycle so good, I think. But the red, the red's like an A minus, and then or just an A, and then the yellow is like a C, high C, low B. Blue's just okay. It's a blue. You'll
blue
play it.
blue
Yeah.
is tolerable if you have to. Though,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing it in KO, again, you don't love playing it in KO. It's a miss itself. But if you play out a blue Bear Fangs and hit, that's still a 2 card 7 value.
Yeah, that's true. Well, talking about tolerable cards, next up we have Pack Hunt, which is a cycle. Um, it's a 2-cost, 6 power at red. They block 3, 5 power, 5 attack at yellow, 4 at blue. And very simple text. When this attacks, intimidate. This is like a bread and butter Reinar card. It is fine, and I think we've given it C's across the board.
No, no,
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
this
Kevin likes the
You're
red.
sleeping
Kevin
on the
likes the
pack hunt.
red.
No, the red pack
I
hunt
am apparently.
is very good, and I think it fits in that similar curve space I was talking to earlier with Rawhide Rumble. Uh, like the red pack hunt is going to be a primo Rhinar card because it fits in the cost curve with Bonebreaker Bellow. Um,
I think all the 2-cost ones fall in that category, right? All the 2-cost brute attacks that like have some sort of possible intimidate trigger just line up really well with Bonebreaker Bellow and Rhinar.
yep, there's there's a reason Bonebreaker Bellow has the grade that it has in every color. But we're
We
almost
will
there.
get
We're
to it
getting to it
soon.
soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, the non-red colors of Pack Hunt, they're fine. You know, the yellow's good in KO. It's one of the better blue misses that you're like fine putting in your deck just because you know 4 intimidate is still good, and in real late game situations when you're talking, you know, okay, it's 1-to-1. Uh, if you get a second intimidate trigger with a 4 power card that already intimidates, that can end a game pretty easily. Um, but next up, we're going to take a trip to Pound Town. Pound Town, similar to Assault and Battery, it's another one of those bread and butter workhorse cards. Uh, it's a cycle, blocks 3, costs 3, attacks for 7, 6, or 5. It has beat chest, and then when it attacks, if you've beaten chest this turn, create a might token. I think the ceiling on this card is certainly lower than Assault and Battery because I think you know, having the agency to put an agility token in and know that that's going to be there for next turn is really huge. Might token is easier to extract the value from because it's just +1 to whatever you're doing on the following turn cycle. But the ceiling for might is definitely lower than agility.
Yeah, if I have to choose between Pound Town and Assault and Battery, it's going to be Assault and Battery, just because the upside of agility tokens versus might tokens. But I'm not upset about seeing Pound Town if it's the only brute card left in a pack. It's like, all right, sweet, I'll take it.
Yeah, solid role player. Another blue 6 for KO. It's yeah, not a card you're going to be
Yeah.
disappointed to put in your deck.
Yeah. Solid. Just kind of the definition of a C, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All
Next
right. Well,
up,
yeah. Next up, we have the other no block brute attack at common, Wild Ride. This is a reprint from Everfest as well. It's a red, yellow, blue cycle, 6 attack, 5 attack, 4 attack. It does not block. It has null defense. And when it attacks, you draw a card and discard a card at random. If a card with 6 or more power is discarded, it has Go Again. So don't even need agility, just naturally has it. Wild Ride, I think, is one of the better brute commons, just because it naturally is a turn extender, and it's a 2-cost, like we just talked about, which is kind of where you want to be preferably in terms of the costs of your cards. I think the red is significantly better than yellows and blues, and it's probably like a B, maybe a B plus, whereas reds and blues are closer to C's or maybe D for the blue.
Yeah, our average. I'm looking at it now, and the our average ended up being the red being B plus, the C being B plus, and then the blue being D. There's a blue that does not block is
tough sell. Definitely a
no,
tough sell.
it's a tough sell.
Blue that doesn't block, and if you want to play it, it's a 2-card 4. It's just not where you want to be.
But I even rated the red one an A. I see it just as not quite bare fangs, but Wild Ride just enables like your best turns on brute. So if you're seeing this, if you're getting past this in a pack, like brute is likely open, and it's the It fits into the two cost power structure of Bonebreaker Bellow, which we'll get to up next. I know we've talked about that a lot, but like it just fitting into that cost curve just makes me want to pick it even higher.
Yeah, and just so the sheer value on Bare Fangs is great, right? If you're hitting the buff, you're getting 8+ value in either of the brutes. But the ceiling on Wild Ride is even higher because this is the kind of card that's going to turn on Mandible Claw. So if you are looking like have a handful of resources and you hit on this go again, there's 3 more with another go again, and you can go 2 with go again into claw with go again into another 2-drop potentially, and like that's a filthy limited turn.
Mhm.
Imagine Wild Ride into Claw into Bare Fangs. Disgusting.
Yeah, yeah. I might have been doing that to some people lately. Spoiler alert. All right, the real reason we're all here, Bonebreaker Bellow.
Have we talked about it enough?
Did we
we've
tease it enough?
we've built up the hype, but the good news is the hype is real. So, Bonebreaker Bellow is a brute action, costs 1, comes in all 3 colors, uh, blocks for 3, has beat chest, and then your next brute attack this turn gets +3. If you've beaten chest this turn, instead it gets +5. So we're looking at a card that at its floor is Come to Fight. But even better than Come
Mhm.
to Fight because it also works so it cares about brute attack, not attack action cards. So that's already, especially for a limited format, an upgrade because,
Works on weapons.
yep. Um, but the power of beat chest over a bunch of other, there are a ton of brute buffs out there that are, that look rate wise pretty solid, but most of them involve random discard of some sort. Beat chest, letting you choose what card you're discarding, is such a quality of life upgrade, and it's how it's how Rhinar draft decks are going to get to, not feel horrible having a bunch of blues that aren't 6 power cards that they're still going to need to play, because they can have a hand that's got a miss, and they're like, it doesn't matter because I know what I'm picking, and I can follow up with my blue pack hunt for 9, but it's a double intimidate, right? Like the selection ability is huge. Um, it's a non-attack action that blocks for 3. That again, that is fantastic text to have into the warrior cards in this set. That a lot of them care about if they're blocked by attack actions. So premium offensive and defensive card here.
Yeah, we rated it all 3 colors an A. I think
Yeah.
if you're playing a brute or thinking about playing a brute and you see this card past you, you just grab it.
Yeah.
Because also, I think the most important part of this card is the costing 1. Obviously, cost 0 would be better, but costing 1 turns on all your 2-cost brute attacks, which we've talked about how good they are. But then also all the brute weapons are also 2 cost. So at worst, you're let's say you got the ball breaker, and if you've discarded a 6, it turns into a 4, and then so your 3-card hand is pitch blue, play bone breaker, discard your 6+, and now your ball breaker comes in for 9 off 3 cards. Off the weapon, use 2 cards. It just what you looking to do.
Yeah, the stats are there, the selection's there.
Yeah. It's just the best brute common.
Yeah, we
Just
were
period.
probably a little generous putting like the blue and the yellow both as A's, but they're firmly B's. Like like I don't think you take yellow Bonebreaker Bellow over red Bear Fangs or red Assault and Battery. But at the same time, a few picks in, when the premium red attacks are gone, like you're rarely going to be disappointed by having Bonebreaker Bellow in your deck.
Yeah. And then our last brute card is not a cycle. It just comes in blue. It's Smashback Alehorn, blue, 0 cost, 2 blot brute action. create an agility and a might token, and it has go again. This card is fine. It's a blue. It's acceptable at a 2-block, and it really is just a card you're going to play when you have excess cards in hand, or you're trying to set up a really big turn for the next turn. I think it's going to be quite common in this limited format to use your giant suite of armor, what with your temper 2s that we rarely see in prior limited formats, to take an off turn and say, hey, I am going to set up. I'm not going to pressure you as my opponent. And I'm blocking with all my armor. I'm going to have a 5-card hand next turn, so you better be ready. And I think this is exactly the kind of card that does that, right? It's we've made a lot of comparisons with this card to Mavrian Skies, the Runeblade non-attack action card, which gives go again to an attack, and on hit, get a rune chant. Well, a might is a lot like a rune chant, and agility is a lot like go again. So I think it's a pretty fair comparison to make here.
And it's
like
potentially better, right? Potentially better than a blue Mauve Skies for 2 reasons. One, you're getting the might token no matter what, whereas Mauve Skies only gives you a point of damage if that attack hits. And this is a card you're playing, and it's a card that doesn't need to come from your hand to enable your next turn. You've already got, one point of power and a spare action point just standing by. And yeah, this card, there's a couple other, or there's a hybrid attack that's very good and has a very similar effect out of KO. That, yeah, I think this pair of tokens is quite strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high C, but it is a C.
Yeah,
I'm not as high on it. I understand what you guys are saying. I don't think I'm picking this card very highly in draft though. Like if I end up with it, like if I just gets passed to me and I'm in brute and it's a brute card or some other like bad generic, I'll take this over it. But the tokens are quite good, but the ceiling of this card being just make 2 tokens, not crazy for me. So
true, that's fair. Yeah, I can definitely see it as a C minus just because there's a few other cards with very similar effects that I think I would prefer over this one. But yeah, so solid but unspectacular, we'll go with.
Yeah.
So that rounds out the pure brute section. Coming up next, we're in to the Guardian cards. So the token Guardian weapon for the set is High Riser, which is a one-handed Guardian weapon that is a hammer. Base power of 3. Once per turn action, it can attack for 3 resources. And then if you've drawn a card this turn, this gets +1. My impression of this is just that Titan's Fist was a little too good in this limited environment, and they needed something a little worse. Is pretty much how it looks, and it sounds like it's felt for most folks.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to give this a C because you don't have another choice unless you happen to open Miller's Grindstone, but it's not a very good weapon at all.
Yeah. Shout out to Jamie in our Discord, but we were talking about the token weapons and comparing them to each other, and High Riser is fine. I think the reason it's the way it is because, at least in my opinion, the LSS really wanted the set to be more about like playing cards and defending with cards, and like cards matter rather than just block out, swing weapon, block out, swing weapon, like it has been in past sets. And so I think lowering the power level of your token weapon really gets that point across of like you should use your cards to win the game rather than just block and swing a weapon.
Okay, but the real Guardian weapon of the set is Miller's Grindstone. So this is a rare Guardian weapon hammer one-handed. 4 power on here, so nice. Already, we've got the breakpoint. 3 resources once per turn attack. And then it has an ability, if it hits a hero, clash with them. If you win, destroy the top card of their deck. If they win, put a -1 counter on this, which is like super sweet upside, straight gravy, and then that last sentence ruins it. I think the card is still good. It's probably like a B. I think Guardian is primarily looking to like set up and then send big attacks in this limited format. So the number of times you end up swinging weapon probably means that like this never attacks for less than 3 in a game naturally, anyways. So it's just better than High Riser. But it's good, not great. Is kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I rated it B just like you two also did. It's like if I see it, I want to pick it, and like if I'm in Guardian, I want to pick it. But if I see it, it's not going to force me into Guardian.
Mm.
Because I think if I'm already in Guardian, then it's like, oh sweet, I've got the better Guardian weapon in the set. And if I see it like super early, it's like, I'm gonna see what else is out there because this isn't the card I'm looking for to force me into class.
And taking it is relatively harmless because you can just run a high riser in one hand and Miller's grindstone in the other, and you're like, okay, well, once grindstone is worn down to being useless, which is realistically probably after it goes down to two, uh, then your trusty high riser is just there for you, ready to always do 3 damage.
The next card in the
Yeah.
set that not playable in draft, but maybe sealed, is the Aurum Aegis. It's actually a Victor specialization. Uh, it's a Guardian equipment offhand field with temper 2, and the text on it is this counts as a gold. So for Victor's ability, you're able to destroy it to reclash, basically. And that's kind of it. Not really relevant
Yeah.
draft. In field, you'll play it because it blocks 3 with temper.
Yep,
Okay, but
card's great,
the real
constructed.
shield in the set for limited is a Stonewall Impasse, and this one's exciting. So this is a rare Guardian equipment offhand. It has temper in one block, but when it defends, you clash with the attacking hero, and if you win, it gets +1 defense until end of turn. So you have a potential to get 3 block out of this if you can win 2 clashes. Um, and it also is letting you clash on your opponent's turn, which can be useful for Victor, right? Or at least it can give you an outlet to use your gold on in Victor. I think it's excellent. I mean, the floor is Rotten Old Butler, which saw play all the time in Tales of Aria. I have this at, I think, looks like we all have this right around a B as well. Although I definitely would take it over Miller's Grindstone if I had to put those side by side.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
agree
I'd
with that
agree. It's
assessment.
I think it's another I think it's another card that I'm picking him if I'm in Guardian, and if I'm not in Guardian, I'm probably passing, see what else comes
Mm.
around, and maybe I end up in Guardian later.
And actually, I think Stonewall Impasse actually has the highest uh, potential of the non-legendary shields that exist, right? Because so base defensive 1, you defend with it, clash, win, goes up to 2. They close the chain, you put a point on it, back down to 1, and they attack on the same turn. You can pump it to 2 again because you'll have pumped it twice on the same turn despite the -1 counter. So you can get 4 defense out of it if you use it all in one turn.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had not
I
thought
had not
about
thought
that.
about that. In sync there. Yeah,
Value.
that's really neat.
Don't close the chain, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't close the chain in between attacks.
Oh boy.
Okay,
Uh,
where
Right,
are we now?
another we're at another legendary. Guardian gets another legendary. They weren't rich enough already. Uh, Gauntlets of Iron Will. I really enjoy that art. It's a Guardian Equipment Arms, Temper 2, and then when this defends, the next time an attack would gain power this chain link, instead it gains that much -1. So pretty good against attack reactions. In draft, you can't play it because it comes in the expansion slot. In sealed, you're gonna play it because it's Temper 2. Set, cut, on to the next.
Yep.
Checks out.
So we've got Golden Glare, which is another Victor specialization, but it's a rare Guardian equipment headpiece. Blade Break 2, and then when this defends
Ooh.
together with 2 or more yellow cards, create a gold token. So we've got, let's see where we at. Golden Glare. Our average came out to be about a B minus. I had this at a C. Ren and Kevin had this at B and B minus.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. It's Blade Break 2
Blade
equipment.
Break Blade Break 2 is good. It's important to remember that if you get the trigger where you defend with this and 2 cards and make a gold, you'll draw a card off of Victor's ability. So it's only like you only are spending 1 card out of hand. You get 1 back, right? But it needs 2 yellows to do that. I just don't think that happens very often. It's Blade Break 2 is the important part here, which is good.
I think it happens more often in limited because you're more likely to run yellows.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not really what you're looking to do, I don't think.
Yeah. I think this is the worst of the 6 specialization helmets. But it's fine.
It's fine, and it's rather outshined by our next inclusion.
For sure.
Good Time Chapeau. That is the Betsy specialization Guardian head equipment. It has Temper 2, and as an action, destroy a gold you control. Your next attack this turn gets, when this attacks a hero, wager a Might and a Vigor token with them. Go again. And that's it. No part of that ability does it say sacrifice Good Time Chapeau. So, for all of the golds that you have, you can.
Did Brian even read this card? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this card's very good. I think it scored the only A plus rating from any of us in this entire process. I think Rhea gave this a full stop A plus. This is a pack one, pick oneable card that can get you pack one, pick one to commit to Betsy.
I think this is the best card in the set. For limited, I think it's just the best card in the set. It's that good.
Yeah, we watched the celebrational, and in the heavy hitters only CC section, obviously Betsy was running this, but I saw multiple times it used, which then was able to turn on Betsy's ability with like on a wage gold, so it just got the gold token back, and then it also got overpower and +1, and it's just the gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
if you see it, pick it. That's
it's a pretty
story.
pretty cut and clean case.
Yeah.
Our next equipment is the Guardian foil to raw meat that we saw earlier, Stand Ground. This is a common equipment. Guardian equipment legs, natively 0 block. If you control a might token, it has +1, and if you control a vigor, it has +1, and this is temper. It's fine. I think we settled right around a C for it in general. You're gonna have to work to get block out of this. But you have to work to get block out of almost every equipment in the set, so I don't think that makes it particularly bad by comparison. But you know, hopefully have something better to put in your large slot than this.
I don't know if you've got Good Time
Guardian,
Chapeau, and then you turn on Betsy's ability, and then you
That's true.
And get those
That's
2.
true.
It's just temper 2, just straight
That's true.
up.
Well, and the cycle of the blues like Smashback, Ailhorn, right? Every class has one that makes the 2 tokens that class can make. You know, it's kind of cool if you're like, oh, I'm going to try and set up for this really big turn. Let me play this card that gives me a might and a vigor, and now suddenly Stand Ground is ready to, you know, help you on your pivot turns.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Solid. You don't hate it, but it's not the most exciting either. On the subject of exciting.
Up next, we've got Betsy's specialization from the set. It's a red 4 cost, 8 power guardian attack action that blocks for 3. And it says when this attacks a hero, you may wager a gold, might, and vigor token with them. So the uh, you wagering would also then trigger Betsy's ability. So you would then be able to pay 2 more, give this overpower and +1, all for 6 resources, which seems pretty good, which is why we all rated it an A.
Yeah, I think bet big is. It's the definition of an A, right? It is a headliner reason why to play Betsy is you open this card.
Yeah, and
And if you're starting with a might, then it's just a 2-card 8, which is fantastic. And if you've got more cards than that, then it turns into a 3-card 9 with overpower, get a gold, might, and vigor token, most likely. Seems incredible.
yeah, 10 out of 10. Pack one, pick one. Pick this card.
Yeah.
Next
Okay,
up,
next we have a non-specialization Guardian Majestic attack, primed to fight. So this is 9 attack, 3 block. It costs 5, but it has 2 lines of text. If you controlled a Vigor token this turn, if you have controlled, not control right now, this costs 1 less to play. And if you have controlled a Might token this turn, this gets +1. So that checks both currently and it checks retroactively, which means that if you've had a Vigor at any point in this turn, this is functionally a 3 cost 9. And if you've had a Might anytime this turn, it is 11 attack, not 9 attack, assuming the Might is going on this, right? So in a Magic Christmas Land, this is a 2-card 11, which is absurd to say out loud. Unsurprisingly, and this goes in both either Guardian quite easily. I think unsurprisingly, we all are also doing this card in A across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Even at its absolute worst case, like 3 cards for 9 damage. Like if you're pitching 2 blues into prime for fight and then attacking for 9, like that's like the base
still just
value you want
fine.
to get. And that's
Sounds
absolute
like
worst case scenario.
yeah,
And yeah, I think
sounds
9 is the tallest any attack gets in this set, if I'm not mistaken.
that sounds right.
Like I think there's the
Yeah,
tower
so it's just
ones.
wins every clash. Smack of Reality is also 9. Yeah, but that doesn't win. It just ties.
For clashing, yes. The Golden Sun, which we'll talk about next, has the ability to go to 10.
That's fair, but yeah,
But to be fair, this one has the ability to go to 9 or 11. So I guess you're still right.
yeah, suck it, Golden Sun. Speaking
So what does
of
Golden Sun do, Kevin?
the Golden Sun, it is a 4-cost yellow Guardian attack action, blocks for 3, attacks for 7. It is Victor's in-deck specialization. As an additional cost to play this, you may destroy a gold you control. If you do, this gets +3 and overpower. When you win a clash revealing this, create a gold token. Great rate, potential for evasion, value for clashing while it's in your deck. It's like a it's I don't think it's quite as good as bet big, right? Like if I had to pick which one I wanted to open,
Yeah.
I think I want bet big more. But you know, it's hard to complain when you open a powerful majestic in a sealed pool or a draft.
We also averaged out this at being an A. So all 3 of these Guardian attack Majestics have been A's for us.
Also, shout out to what is probably the best flavor text in the set. Why wait for divine intervention when gold can pave the way, Victor Goldmane? It's really good. Good job, LSS. I don't know who wrote that, but you need a raise.
Continuing on the Guardian Majestics, the next one we have is Boast. It is a Guardian block card with a base defense of 3, pitches for blue. And this gets plus X defense while defending, where X is twice the number of clashes you've won this turn.
So this one's also an A, right? It's just all the Guardian Majestics get
Now,
A's.
we really needed to break the trend up just a bit, so we gave this one a D plus across the board. I think we might be all collectively being a little too harsh on it because this is a card that if you win a single clash, this is a one card 5 block, which is exceptional by this set standards for defense.
If you have the Stonewall impasse, you probably just wait until you draw this card, and then you block
Yeah.
with Stonewall impasse, and then you block with Boast to try to get the thing off. But it still requires you to win the clash, which in limited is not a guarantee. Well, in constructed it's not technically a guarantee, but you can definitely deck build more in constructed to build around this card.
Yeah, and I mean the floor in when your guardian weapon doesn't care about card cost, the floor of a blue block 3 with defensive upside, it's fine. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. In certain builds, it will look
I
fantastic.
think you're gonna see this at like pick 12 a lot. Um, which is not a great sign for a Majestic.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it'll go in a lot of constructed decks though. A lot of Victor constructed decks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then our other Guardian blocked Majestic is Trounce. This is a red this time. It also blocks 3. And there's a lot of text here. When this defends, clash with the attacking hero. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of their owner's deck, then clash again. If one hero wins both clashes, they create a gold, might, and vigor token. So this one we're pretty divided on. I am probably severely overestimating this card and your ability to draft around this card by drafting a deck that just wins all of its clashes. I just look at that upside, a card that you get 3 value and a gold and a might and a vigor, and my eyes go like stars, and I'm trying to make it work in my head at least. I have it around a B minus, and you'll have it around a D.
I think that it is in non-constructed formats, and even the warriors in this set, right, are going to pick some. Oh well, this is a 7 power red attack action that and obviously Victor can use daddy's money to break some gold and do better at these clashes and try and win, but the odds of winning 2 consecutive clashes aren't great because you have to specifically win. So like uh, if you tie
Can't
one of
tie. You
them,
have to
you're just
win.
yeah you've
Yeah.
someone has to win both, and just the odds that you split it or one of them is a tie is high enough that this just looks like a red block 3 to me.
I think Browns and Boast, which card we just previously talked about, both have possible upside, but Browns, the tokens being this upside and the extra block on Boast being the other upside. But this being a red makes it a lot lower for me than Boast, even though I rated them both a D. Like Boast being a blue, at least it's a blue block 3, where Trounce is a red block 3.
Yeah, but if you have this in Victor and you get the gold from it, you draw a card. So it's like 3 damage prevented that didn't cost any cards from hand. I don't know. I think
If
if yeah, but it still blocks
if
3. Like that's what Guardians want to do anyways, right? It's a fine card. I am almost surely overvaluing it.
Fair. It's all right as long as we have self-awareness on it. That's okay. Um, all right, moving on from the Majestics, getting into the rares, so that we don't keep you here all day.
We're gonna be here a
we're gonna
while.
be here all day.
Yeah, yeah. Colossal Bearing starts off a pseudo cycle of rare Guardian attack actions. This was first seen, I believe, in the Round the Table product. But Colossal Bearing is a Guardian attack action, attacks for 8, blocks for 3, costs 4. Has Tower. If this has 13 or more power, it gets, when this hits a hero, destroy an equipment they control with 1 or less defense. Um, there are a few pumps in this set, right? Some of the Guardian auras that you know play this turn, and then the follow-up turn it's +5 to the attack, right? So like there is a way that this can get activated, and destroying equipment in limited sounds fantastically powerful. That said, I feel like most of the time you're just looking at this like a 8 power 4 cost card.
Yeah, I just don't think this card is good enough. I have it at like a D plus, and that might be a bit high. I think Guardian is a very synergistic deck in this format and really relies on keeping the clashes and wagers and bets flowing. And this card doesn't do any of that, so I'm concerned that it's a lot of work for a payoff that's just okay.
Yeah, I'm in limited. I'm just ignoring the text completely, and I'm just looking at it as a 4 cost, 8 power, 3 block. Which, if I have a vigor token, is great. 2 card 8, cool. But if not, it's kind of meh. So I've got it at a C personally.
Yeah. So the next card in that pseudo-cycle is Lay Down the Law. It is a red 3 cost, 7 power. It also has Tower. If it has 13 or more power, non-equipment cards get -1 while defending this. I think this is the best of the cycle just because it is a Raging Onslaught. It's a 3 for 7. And while this has the lowest base power, and so it's the hardest tower to achieve, it is the tower that helps you win the game the most on the spot. Just because it has some evasion built in. I'm not really expecting to ever trigger tower on this. Card is
Yeah, I mean,
fine. It's a C.
to trigger tower on this, that means like on a previous turn. I mean, okay, obviously you can do some wagers and get some might that way, but like you're not getting this to 13 just off of might tokens, because Guardian doesn't have cast bones, so it's one of the pump auras or bust, or in this case, it's one of the pump auras and a might token or bust. So this is just a really fancy looking Raging Onslaught.
Yeah, once again, I'm ignoring the text completely. It's a 3 for 7. It's fine. Moving on.
Last of
Moving
this
on
pseudo
to
cycle.
the Mac of Reality. Red 9 power Guardian attack action that costs 5. Blocks for 3. Has Tower. If this has 13 or more, it gets, when this hits its hero, destroy all aura tokens they control. Now, the Tower text is most relevant in this format when there's a ton of token auras, but also, once again, personally, I'm just ignoring the Tower text, and just it's a 5 for 9, so kind of meh in my mind.
Yeah.
Helps you trade up
Another
on cards
Yeah.
in deck in a slog.
It's like a D.
Yep.
All right. Cycle of Rares, Over the Top. This is a cycle that costs 3, blocks 3, attacks for 6, 5, or 4. And then if Over the Top has power greater than its base, it gets Overpower. This is just going to be a nice like core card. Evasion is really important for closing out games. So like this card wants nothing more than for you to start a turn with a might token that breaks, so you can just 2 cards, 7 overpower is very strong. This is just going to be a bread and butter attack for Betsy, and then honestly,
Yeah.
Golden Boy's probably perfectly content taking this too.
I think our grades reflect that too. We have it at like a C plus for red, a C minus for yellow, and a C for blue. It's just bread and butter is the perfect way to put it.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Fine, TM. Our last Guardian Rare is not just fine, at least not in my opinion. This is stacked in your favor. It's a cycle. It is an non-attack aura action, not an attack action. So the blocks for 2 has go again, and then the cycle part is your attack action cards get +3 defense while defending, or +2 for yellow, +1 for blue. And then they all have the same line of text. At the start of your turn, destroy this, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. It's just Neff, in my opinion. I think you'll play the blue because it's a blue, but it's a blue 2 block. I don't know. LSS has tried to make this card a couple of times now, even all the way back in like Welcome to Wraith, but that one at least blocked 3, so you didn't feel bad about putting off color ones in your deck. I think that the draw card, put a card back is like, yeah, it's cool for attacks you have that clash, but you also can just draft a deck that wins most clashes. I don't see this card doing anything really.
I feel like you lose a lot of tempo by playing it, and then like it doesn't. If it said at the start of your turn draw a card, it's like okay, that's like pretty reasonable. You can set up like a big turn, but then you got to put a card back on top, so you just lose a card. The only reason I didn't rate this an F, I rated it a D, is because it's specifically not an attack. So against warriors, you can block with it, and it doesn't turn on their stuff, which is
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it's a 2 block, so it's not great, but at least it's not an attack 2 block.
Yeah, I think there's a weird like niche of potential for this card that if someone is going to try and draft a Guardian deck that is the dedicated fatigue deck where okay, me trying to play great offense is not a priority at any point in this game. I'm going to run you out of cards and fatigue you. If you are playing against a KO and they take a turn that's maybe not a full off turn but is clearly a setup turn where they're like, all right, got my agility, got some might tokens going, arsenal a card, let's go, and they're just sitting there doing a wind up, and you're just like, well, instead of attacking you, I'll just play stacked in my favor. And now if you get and full block a turn that's like wild ride for 7 into Bear Fangs, you can block with 3 cards and cover nearly all of that up. Like, but that's, I don't know. That's such a specific scenario, and it has to line up. And yeah, I don't know. It's a D. It's not great. Outside of someone pulling a really interesting control deck out of a draft.
Yep. Moving on. Command Respect. Guardian attack action. At red, it costs 3, attack for 6. This is a cycle, so attack for 6, 5, 4 at blue. Blocks for 3, and then when this hits a hero, if it has power greater than its base, destroy a card in their arsenal. Seems pretty fine. I think we rated the red one a B, yellow and blue at C. Like the Arsenal Disruption in Limited is good because you gain card advantage, but not as good because in Constructed you're like attacking the power cards trying to set up for. But it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It finds a good way to put it.
Fail
I
state
think
is
I think the red is a
acceptable.
low B, but yeah. Yeah, you'll be happy playing this card. Funnily enough, the next Guardian common is better Command Respect. It's Concuss. Same cost, same attack power, 6/5/4 across the cycle. When it hits the hero, if it has power greater than its base, they discard a card. And while Alex was talking earlier about, well, unlimited, your opponent's not necessarily are sitting on an arsenal waiting for a big power turn, they always have cards in hand. And so I think this is a much more threatening on hit, assuming that you have the might lying around.
they will always have cards in hand. Even if they rolled Knucklehead and got a 1, there's at least one card there for you to take.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, you just take Concuss over Command Respect.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're in the same class of cards, but Concuss is slightly better.
Thunk. Next one. Thank you. Thunk is a Guardian attack action. Costs 5, attacks for 8/7/6, blocks for 3. It is vanilla attack other than the text that is, when you win a clash revealing this, create a might token. So it's basically a clash victory payoff that, you know, when it happens it'll be nice, but again, this is another card that, you know, you look at it and you care about the fact that it is a 8 power card for 5, and anything else is just kind of gravy.
Yeah, I think this is one of those weird cycles where the blue is the best card in the cycle, just because you want to keep it in your deck because you want to keep pitching it over and over again anyways. I'm just not thrilled with attacking for a vanilla 5 cost 8. And so I'm kind of gun shy around the red and the yellow.
In limited, I just don't think you're clashing enough to get the value off having a bunch of these in your deck. If you're stuck taking it in a draft, it's okay. It's a 3-block attack action, like that's in your class, but I don't think you're picking this over other stuff.
Yeah, so we're around like a low C, high D.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then we have Thunk's counterpart, Wallop.
I'm not making that onomatopoeia.
Wallop is just, you know, slightly shrunken down version. Instead of a 8 power attack for 5, we've got a 7 power attack for 4. Obviously scales down in other colors. And this one, when you win a clash revealing this, create a vigor token. Kind of same category. I don't think either of these cards are, you know, they're probably marginally better than their corresponding tower cards, just because this text is more likely to trigger than the tower text in most games. But yeah, just fine. Another role player.
I will say I like Wallop a lot better than Thunk because I think your first Vigor is way more important than your first Might. And Wallop fuels itself. So it costs 4, it makes Vigors, which reduces the cost of your other Wallops to 3. So it kind of plays into its own play patterns much better than a card like Thunk.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could somehow reveal it to the clash, get the vigor token, and then draw it off with gold with Victor,
Mm-hmm.
then it only costs 3. Seems good.
Yeah.
But anyways,
high C, low mid C.
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. Big Bop. It's a common cycle at red, yellow, blue. Costs 3. It's a Guardian action aura that blocks for 2. At the start of your turn, destroy this. Then your next Guardian attack this turn gets +5. And when this attacks a hero, you may wager a Vigor token with them.
Ooh.
It's bad.
Rhea does not like.
So,
like
we need to remake the Mean Girls meme of like, stop saying fetch, stop trying to make fetch happen.
Stop
LSS
trying to make
keeps
Guardian auras a thing.
Stop trying to make Aura Guardian happen. These are even worse than what we're used to because they're 2 blocks. Like it's a 2 block offensively. If you play it, it's a 2 card 5, which is
I just don't. The whole cycle. The only reason it's not an F is because it's not an attack, so it doesn't buff the warrior stuff.
I gave the reds and yellows Fs. The blue is a D because it's a blue, but you still don't want it in your deck. And this, we end up giving the exact same grade to Bigger Than Big, the next Guardian action. It is the same exact thing, but instead of a vigor token, it's a might token, which is probably even worse than Big Bop. Also a D or F, depending on how much you dislike Aura Guardian.
Yeah.
Notably, I think the reason they're so bad is because they don't have Go Again. If
I
you
think the
could,
reason they're so bad is because they block too.
I mean, sure. But if they had Go Again, at least you could like swing the weapon after them. So you set up next turn and apply like a little bit of pressure. But they just,
I think the reason they're so bad is that
I
they're
don't see
not
it.
Earthlore empowerment. They're not also going to make your 4 for 8 a 3 for 8 to go with this. Yeah,
Yeah.
do not love. And then rounding out the Guardian section, we have Pint of Strong and Stout. Again, each of the classes has one of these that makes their own tokens. I think this one not making agility is sort of probably the least impactful of the bunch. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not exciting. Uh, you'll play it. You won't prioritize it. C
Low C.
minus. Yeah, that's where we ended up on that.
All right. Now go pause this podcast, go get a drink, because we're about halfway through.
We're about halfway done. Yeah.
But we're to warrior. Okay, token weapon, Centauri saber.
Yay! One
So
class.
Yeah.
there's a pattern
What a
here.
token weapon.
There's a pattern here. The warrior weapons all cost 1 to attack. The brute weapons all cost 2 to attack. The guardian weapons all cost 3 to attack. So Centauri saber, not new, still solid. Pay 1, attacks for 2. When this is defended by 1 or more attack action cards, this gets +1 until end of turn. It's going to be your bread and butter. It's not the most exciting, and I think most ideal warrior draft decks will only run one of them. Um, we gave it C's across the board because it's fine, but I think our second warrior weapon is a lot more interesting and probably more necessary to really getting your warrior deck firing on full cylinders.
Yeah, I think the ideal limited warrior deck will be 1 Centauri Saber and 1 Hot Streak. Warrior weapon, one-handed, that cost 1 to attack, attacks for 2, and when this is defended by 1 or more attack action cards, Hot Streak's attack get Go Again for the turn. So ideally, you've got 1 Centauri Saber, 1 Hot Streak, and uh, everything being able to, most of the cards in the set being attack actions, means that if you're in the grind of the game, you can pitch one card into Hot Streak, and they have to block with an attack action, and then it gets Go Again, and you get to swing the saber. So you just pitched one card in your deck to get 2 cards out of their deck on offense, which is good. But also just being able to have Go Again is good.
Yeah. There's a relatively limited amount of weapon-based Go Again in the set. It is largely agilities and 1 premium common that we'll get to later. So Hot Streak being a source of action points, or just killing your opponent because they're refusing to block it. Either way, you're winning, right?
Yeah.
I think we gave this like low A, high B across the board. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a very good card. Pick it up if you see one.
Definitely. And then rounding out the warrior armory selection, we have Parry Blade. It is just another warrior weapon, one-handed, attacks for 2, pay 1 to attack. But it has the unique extra text on a weapon that it has blade break, and it gets +2 defense while defending a weapon attack. You're not going to prioritize this as highly as Hot Streak, but I think it's fine. Right? Like if you see it and there's nothing else major, it's like drafting an extra blade break equipment for late game in a pinch, right? You're gonna want to not break your secondary weapon until you really have to, but when you really have to, at least you can.
Yeah, I mean, once you've run out of agility and Go Again in your deck as warrior, you can. I think the late game ends up being more about the attack reaction since there are no D reacts. So mid to late game, you can cash this in for 2 life, be able to have the breathing room to hold one of your reactions, and hopefully end the game that way. I think it's pretty good. I don't know that I would play a hot streak and a parry blade. I think I would still prefer a saber and a hot streak, but I would definitely play a parry blade over the second Centauri saber.
That's fair. That makes sense. Um, our second to last legendary, I think, or is it no? There's still one more. But Grains of Bloodspill is a warrior chest equipment. Whenever a weapon you control hits, you may pay a resource. If you do, create a vigor, and it has temper 2. Obviously, not draftable. Play it if you get it in sealed. It's great. Probably solid and
Put
constructed.
it put it in your constructed warrior decks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Um,
Okay.
but for draft, we're going to be more concerned with prized Gallia.
Is this Gallia, or Galea? I don't know how to say this word yet. This is my vote for the second best specialization helmet in the set. This is Olympia's helmet. It is also temper 2, but it has an attack reaction. Pay 1 resource and destroy this. Target weapon attack you control wagers a gold token with the defending hero, and that's at reaction speed. Very powerful ability after you get the 2 block out of it initially.
The only way they could block it, because there's no D reacts in this set, is with the instance, the block 2, which we'll see a little bit later. But being able to wager a gold once you know it's going to hit, and then it's Olympia specialization, so you can be playing Olympia, which means then you'll get a second gold because you're going to win a wager. 1 resource to gain 2 gold, and also gain 2 health. Yes, I will take that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended
Speaking
up
of more
with
equipment that I
just
will,
A across the board there.
yeah. Other equipment that I will take when I see it is Hood of Red Sand, the Kasai specialization. The warrior equipment head, battle worn 1, another attack reaction that costs 1 resource. Banish a red and yellow card from your graveyard. Destroy this. Target sword attack gets when this hits, draw a card.
Whew.
Yes, indeed, I would like to pay 1 resource because I started this turn with agility, swung a sword, you didn't block it. I will pay 1, draw a card. And now my other sword is free because I'm Kasai and I've drawn a card, and I got another card in my hand. It's great. If you see it, pick it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm just checking real fast. Go ahead.
checking what?
This is one. So it's Hood of Red Sand, Draw Swords, Glory Seeker, Trade In, and Gold Tokens. Those are the only ways to, or Seduce Secrets is a generic majestic. But really, there's like 5 or 6 ways to draw cards in this set as Kasai, which is really important for turning on her hero ability of making your swords free. And this is just a on the board way to do that, which is really, really powerful. And I think cannot be understated. It's one of the few ways, and you have access to it on demand.
Yep, absolutely. Our last warrior equipment is Beck and Applause, which completes the raw meat cycle. Um, Solid role player. You're not going to prioritize it super highly. It's going to be 3 health if you've got the vigor and agility token synergies, which you probably will.
Yeah.
But yeah, same rating as the others. Pretty much
Yeah. So
all the same.
and just to backtrack real fast, so Hood of Red Sand we have at a B plus. Beck and Applause is yet another C.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think I might actually change that to a B because I feel like a lot of the warrior cards block well enough that you could like prevent the wagers to get those tokens that you're looking for. Well, but then like you're into the offense. Well, I I don't know. I think the the warriors are making, because of the reactions that they have, are making tokens more than the other classes. Maybe that's not true, but it's just the way I'm seeing it currently before actually playing the set at pre-release.
That's an
Well,
interesting
speaking
theory.
of,
Yeah.
our first main deck warrior majestic is Blade Flurry, excuse me. This is a red 0 cost warrior attack reaction, blocks 3. Target weapon attack gets +2. Your next weapon attack this turn gets +2. This is a very simple card. It's a very strong card. It's a warrior 0 for 4. Just about every way you look at it, assuming that you have go again to swing twice with weapons. And we've just flatly rated it a B across the board. You're just going to take this card when you see it.
Yep. If you've got a bigger token, then you've got a 2-card 8 with your weapons. Cool. On to the next.
On to the next.
We've got another majestic coming in at yellow, 0 cost, warrior attack reaction, blocking 3. Target warrior attack with power greater than its base gets go again. And the next time an opposing hero is dealt damage this turn, create an agility token. So this is basically an attack reaction that gives you 2 action points.
And this card is called Shift the Tide of Battle.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that whole part.
Yeah,
I think it's better in constructed than it is limited, but if you can get it to line up in limited, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, the fact
Yeah.
that you don't, well, so warrior misses out on inherent access to might tokens, which are the easiest way to just randomly buff an attack. That said, they do have a plethora of, pre-buffing options, but this card's good. It's just card intensive in the hand that it's good in.
I mean, they've got the front pumps, they've got the reaction speed pumps. Centauri Saber buffs itself when our opponents are interacting with it and blocking it. And then the other thing that I think is important about this card, at least, it's majestic, so it doesn't come up for all the time, but it is a yellow, which you need yellows in your graveyard to fuel Kasai's ability to make gold, which I think is something you have to pay attention to and deck build around more than you might think, at least in Kasai. You're going to actively want to put yellows in your deck, and this is one of them.
You could also,
but yeah,
this is
you could
one
also
of the
block
yellows of
a
all
might
time.
wager, and then so you
That's
get
true.
the might token,
Yeah.
knowing that this is in your hand, and then
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
fair.
like
Yeah,
a C plus B minus card.
Yeah.
A card that is not a C plus or B minus.
Talk about upping the ante. Olympia's specialization, Up the Ante, is a blue block 3 warrior attack reaction, cost of X, and its text is choose X plus 1. Target attack wagers an agility, a gold, a vigor, and target attack gets plus Y power, where Y is the number of times it has wagered. So, in theoretical land, if you pitch a blue into Up the Ante, you can pick each of these 4 options, wager agility, gold, and vigor, and give the attack in question plus 3. Well, plus 3 just from Up the Ante. If you've wagered other places, it can be even bigger than that. But that card's not in this format. This card it's very strong. It's going to be, the reason to play Olympia and Constructed if you're thinking of doing that. I think the floor is good, and you don't have a problem picking this early if you're remotely interested in playing Olympia.
That's a blue block 3, not an attack.
Excuse me.
Pick it if you see it, and
Yeah, I mean,
you're anywhere
like
near warrior, grab it.
It's like a low A. You're going to take it over most cards in this. Excuse me, in the set. Our next card is my early frontrunner for best constructed card in the set. It is Commanding Performance. This is a red 1-cost warrior action, blocks 3. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3 power, and until end of turn, your warrior attacks, all of them, not just weapons, get. When this is defended by one or more attack action cards, destroy a card in the defending hero's arsenal. They don't have to hit, they just have to be blocked by attacks. And it's a 1 for 3 front pump that blocks 3. I think this card is excellent. It's not a bomb by any means. We've already discussed that arsenals aren't quite worth as much in limited as they are in constructed, but still an extremely good card. I think we all are pretty much in agreement. It's around a B.
Yep. Yeah, just solid value. Nothing
Also,
wrong
this
with
thing on Dawnblade and constructed is really scary.
that. True
Can't wait.
story.
Can't wait.
But you will wait because we're going to raise an army. It's your girl. I was going to let you talk through this one, Alex.
Is that me? Is that my cue?
I can't believe that Alex would jump at the opportunity.
I thought that was Kevin leading into the. All right, fine. We got Raise an Army, which I've already played twice, and stuff's not even out yet. But it's a yellow warrior action, cost of 0. They Kasai specialization, blocked for 3, as all good warrior cards do. As an additional cost to play this, destroy X gold you control. Create X Centauri Sellsword tokens. Go again. So the Centauri Sellsword tokens are. Let me scroll down here to the.
Ooh, I have the technology.
Tokens.
Pull those up.
It doesn't pull up on my screen, you know.
That's true. You're not wrong. Centauri Sellswords are warrior tokens that are mercenary allies. They have 3 power and 2 health. Once per turn action, pay 1 resource to attack and go again. Centauri Sellsword can only attack if you've attacked with a weapon this turn.
So as much as I love Kasai and I love Raise an Army, in limited, I think this card is a D. I just don't think you're getting go again on your weapons enough consistently, or getting gold consistently enough to actually get this to pop off and actually like get you a ton of value through the allies. But if you do, you're probably winning that game.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening often enough, and I think you want to spend the gold to draw cards in limited. So we're at like a D.
I had rated it higher initially, but I definitely forgot that the sellswords had the rider text of only if you've attacked with a weapon this turn. So I was like, what are you talking about? Even if you just get, like 2 gold, just get 2 more 3 go again attacks. Nope, that is not how that works. So.
They're not dragons. They're not free. They don't have automatic go again.
But they don't have
they're,
phantasm. That sure is something.
That's a fact.
Leaving the realm of majestic cards, we've got Cut the Deck, which is a rare cycle of warrior attack reactions. Costs 1, blocks 3. Target warrior attack gets +3, 2, or 1. If it's defended by an attack action card, draw a card, then put a card from your hand or arsenal on the bottom of your deck. I think it's solid. It's a good role player. The draw card can make, a second sword swing for Kasai be discounted. It can let you turn a card in arsenal into another card in hand for more resources, or, maybe you turn, an attack into a buff that you draw, something like that. It's not game breaking, but a solid role player for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It being so. This is when we've been talking about the warrior cards that get mad if you block with an attack action. This is the start of those, because if you block with attack action, it gets extra text. You draw a card, which then if you're playing Kasai means that your next sword attack is free. And then it's also just blocking 3 as a reaction which, like we said before, if you're playing the mirror against another warrior, it's not an attack. So blocking 3 as not an attack is great. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just solid.
And I think specifically this is the best warrior attack reaction in the set for two reasons. A, it is for two combined reasons. It's the only unconditional warrior attack reaction that blocks 3. We'll see two conditional ones in a second, but they rely on specific conditions for you to be able to play them at all. And this is just always a 1 for 3 in the reaction step in a set where there's no D reacts. I think that alone makes the card very good. We as a group have it around C plus. I have it much closer to the B plus range, or B plus for red, B's for yellows and blues.
Yeah, I think Alex and I are both a little more mid on it, but
yeah. So speaking of those limited reactions, our next card is Fatal Engagement. This is a cycle of rares, warrior attack reactions. These do block 3. They cost 2, and you can only play them if an attack action card is defending on the chain link. Target attack, not necessarily weapon, gets +5 power at red. So this looks a lot like Overpower, if you're familiar with that card from Welcome to Wraith Limited. But this is quite restrictive in that if your opponent is not blocking or is only blocking with non-attack actions, this card is just dead in your hand. Because of that, I'm hesitant to play it. I think it's a fine blue, but I'm not super high on the card. I have it, at around the C range. I think the blue is probably closer to a B minus.
I think
I'm a big fan.
yeah.
It in the end game, it lets your weapon be a 2-card 8, assuming that they have to block with an attack action on the Centauri. So Faber comes in for 3 because of block with attack action. You give it +5. They've got to overblock or die. Also, it's a warrior attack reaction that blocks for 3, specifically not an attack. So if you need to, you can just block with it.
Yeah. My opinion of this card is identical to Alex's. It's solid and eventually sort of gets you in a like, well, you have to block me, but if you block me, you're going to enable my super valuable attack reaction.
I would love to be too low on this card because it seems very powerful. We'll see.
It's the juice. It's so good. Speaking of cards that are good, although also cards that we are arguably the most split on of any in the set, Take the Upper Hand. It's another warrior attack reaction. Blocks 3, costs 0. Play this only if you've wagered this chain link. Target attack gets +3. I think that I think that Take the Upper Hand is probably very good. I think it works really well with the fact that Olympia is probably going to prioritize the 7 power wager cards a little more highly. Olympia is gonna like everyone else is gonna get stuck with a few clunkers that are like, oh well, here's my yellow wage agility that's just begging to be 2-card blocked by your opponent. But Take the Upper Hand is just like a cut to the chase for wagered attacks. Costing 0 is just like asking to lead to some pretty epic blowouts, and in addition to the damage you're going to push, you're also going to be winning whatever you wagered on the attack.
Hi, I initially graded this card as C across the board. I would like to retract my grade because I missed the part where it didn't say weapon attack. I thought it said target weapon attack gets +3.
That's fair.
And that's why I thought it was so bad. Oh my god, putting this on a wage agility or a wage gold is absurd. Yeah, this card's great.
We Ray initially, I think, rated this a D, right? And I had this at an A.
C's across the
Like,
board.
oh, this is gonna be
A's across the board
this is
for
gonna be a
Alex.
good conversation.
Yep.
I missed the lack of a very important word in that card. That card's very good.
I think this is one of the best warrior cards. As 0-cost reaction, you just get to sit in Arsenal, wait for, like Kevin say, a wage agility or something like that. where you get the blowout of the 3 extra damage when they try to block 7, and then also get the thing, and then also it's a 3 block, specifically not an attack. I, I think it's great. I think I'm picking this whenever I have the chance.
Yeah, I'm in now.
Card's great.
She's on
Confirmed.
board.
Yeah. All right, leaving the rares behind, moving into the warrior commons, we've got Agile Engagement. This is a 2 block warrior attack reaction. Costs 1. Target warrior attack gets +3, 2 or 1. If it's defended by an attack action card, create an agility token. Um, I think agility in warrior is extremely powerful. I think uh, of the common reactions, I think the red agile engagement is the best of the bunch. Um, yeah, I like there will be drafts, especially if you're already a bit predisposed to wanting to play warrior in the set. That if you open kind of a slightly more middling pack, that pack one pick one agile engagement is not an awful place to be.
Hmm.
I'll do it at some point, I'm sure.
And you won't regret it. Yeah. Um, I think the value of agility is really important, especially because I rated this card the same as our next card, Vigorous Engagement, which is the exact same, but it makes vigors instead of agility. And just even watching the celebrational and calling stream, seeing the power of agility tokens, I probably need those grades to be different. Agile engagement, definitely better. I think our average grades have engagement they're both called engagement, have agile engagement at a B minus and vigorous at a C plus, and that probably ends up being about right, I think, for both of those cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so vigorous engagement, the very next card, is the same cost, same defense, same effects, except for instead of agility token, it's a vigor token. So it's pretty much the same. We just rate. I have these all as Bs across the board because attack reactions are great in this set because there's no D reacts. Uh, but agility tokens are better than vigor tokens, especially your first agility is miles ahead of your first vigor, but your second
Yeah.
agility is worth nothing, and your
Yeah.
second vigor is worth
another
like
resource.
The same
the
amount.
same amount as the first one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, check this out.
All right. Next up, we've got Draw Swords. This is a warrior action. Costs 3, blocks 3. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, 2, or 1. Draw a card. Go again. Draw a card is pretty good text, huh? Um, this is
It looks a lot like a sharpened steel.
yeah, that's fair. Um, I don't know. This one, I think this is a card that we're all going to need to play with more before we have a better idea of how it actually feels in practice. It's also a card
Yeah,
that we're all very split on.
I have it at around a B minus right now. I think this is one of the reasons you go into Kasai over Olympia, because it's a reasonable source of card draw and it's on rate, right? So after you redraw the card, assuming you pitch to blue to pay the 3 cost, you have a 0 for 3, and it's saving you 2 resources on your swords this turn. Um, I could see that being too high, but I think the card is pretty good. It also is a non-attack action that blocks 3, which is quite relevant.
yeah, I have this I have this at a D. I think I need to revise that. I'm not gonna edit the sheet, but uh, I just didn't understand this card because I just saw it as a worse sharpened steel, a sharpened steel that you needed 2 cards to play. But then I was asking in our Discord, and shout out Evan explained it as basically it's E strike draw card is what it is, which like makes sense to me, which is like a fine, which is a fine turn. So I think it's not a D in my mind
Yeah,
anymore.
because it has +3, and the free sword is 2 more values. So that's where the 5 is coming from when you strike draw a card. Yeah.
Exactly. That's fine.
And even more if it's a hot streak and you get that go again, then it's all the modes.
Yeah. Or if you have an agility, start the turn. Like we said at the top, like a lot of this stuff is conditional. So draw stores by itself is kind of meh. It's an E-strike draw, which is okay. But if you have an agility, or if you've drafted a hot streak and they block the attack action, then it becomes that much better.
Yep. Well, next we have another front pump. This one costs 1. It does block 3, which is quite nice. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3 power, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager an agility token with them. Go again. This one's really good. I have it at around a B minus, C plus. I don't think this is like a reason to play warrior, but it is one of the higher quality warrior commons that you're going to be looking out for, early to middle of your picks in a given pack.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
really
I think
strong. Nobody wants to just say, okay, I'll take 5 damage to prevent the agility. Like, it's it's a likely a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like, am I gonna take damage just to keep you from having an agility?
yeah, your opponent either blocks this out for themselves to get the agility, which then they probably only at max have 2 cards left, so then they probably can't leverage that agility great, or they let it hit and give you the agility, which means that on your next turn you can block more cards and then like just swing both your weapons at absolute minimum for a 1 card 4.
Mm-hmm.
Good, and it blocks 3, not an attack,
Yeah,
solid.
we've got all of these in all the colors rated at you know B minus pretty much across the board. Um, yeah,
All right.
solid pickups. Next is
Are we ready?
Engaged Swiftblade. Um, this one is similar to uh, Edge Ahead, except it's a little more immediate on the payoff. So this is your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, and if this is defended by an attack action card, this gets go again. And it's a 1 cost, 3 block warrior action. Um, it's kind of like a weird Warrior's Valor variant. Um, and I think it's just good. It's the same thing. Damned if you do,
Yeah.
damned if you don't. Do you want to take 5, or do you want to block this and let me swing my other weapon?
I mean, we have this essentially as the best warrior common in the set, I think, right? We can all agree on that. By
Yeah.
grades, I'm pretty sure we have it that way.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
In
have
fact,
this
it
around.
also targets warrior attacks, not just specifically weapon attacks.
Mhm.
So if you do like wage agility or whatever, and you have the cards to like put this in front of it as well, it's like either you're gonna block this and give me go again, so I can swing something else, or you're gonna not block this and give me go again next turn. So it's the classic warrior bad choices all around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So solid like B minus, honestly, just across the board because go again is the main part of this card.
I think we ended up at like A minus. I think both of you rated that
Oh,
as
I
A's.
can't read.
Yeah.
I was reading ahead for the next card. Hold 'em. Spoiler
Marquee
alert.
common. Yeah, it's all right. I already accidentally clicked it, so they already saw it briefly. But Hold'em is Engaged Swiftblade, just the Vigor variant of it. Um, still good value, not quite as scary as threatening an agility token. Um,
Yeah. Worse edge ahead.
yeah, but it's just good. We got this as like a B to B minus across the board.
Yeah.
Solid pickup, you know, relatively early in a draft. Uh, and our last single class card, Goblet of Bloodrun Wine. Create an agility and a vigor token. It's a blue warrior action, costs 0, has go again, blocks for 2. Um, I think it's pretty good. I think this is a great setup card.
I think this
Yeah.
is the best of the three.
I also think this is the best of the three.
Agility and vigor. The first one of those tokens you get is much more significant than might.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, playing this card is just a guaranteed free sword swing with go again on the next turn, so like it's always 2 value no matter what, which is just really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what, like a C plus instead of a C minus or D for the others?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I already showed Centauri Sellsword earlier when we showed the Kasai spec, so we can jump right over to our first dual class card of the set,
Yeah.
Gauntlet of
So
Might.
Don't worry,
yeah.
only like 100 cards left.
It's okay.
Maybe this should be 2 parts.
Enough of these cards are like mirrored that I think we'll be okay. We can
Yeah.
abbreviate a
Okay.
little bit of it.
We're gonna blaze through this.
Speed running, Gauntlet of Might.
round.
It is a Brute Guardian Equipment Arms, Blade Break 1. Action, destroy this, create a Might token, go again. So I think this is a very strong piece of equipment because it's unconditional Blade Break 1, which we actually don't see in any other pieces of equipment in the set. You have to work for all of the other blocking. It also has the ability to cash in for a Might token if you have this huge setup turn and like you want your Concussed to be online next turn as a Guardian. Very good. We have it essentially as a B across the board. It's one of the premium equipment in the set, and it also keeps you open. It's not one class.
Yeah, there's definite value there, and not to mention it works with the other, the raw meat cycle, right? So you can be like, oh well, I'm sacrificing my Gauntlet of Might for a point of damage next turn, but also it's turning on my Temper 2 equipment for this turn cycle. So cool synergies to be had there for sure.
Ease across the board, no notes.
Yeah.
Talking about grades across the board.
Talk about a big game.
Talk a big game does not live up to the hype. It's definitely all bark no bite. This is another Brute Guardian, a non-attack action, blue 0 cost, 3 block, which is good. It's a blue 3 block. That's about what we will grade it on. Choose a number. The next time you deal that much or more damage to a hero this turn, create that many Might tokens, go again. It's a blue block 3, and it's a non-attack action.
It sure is.
I don't think you're going to play it very often.
I'm not excited about it. It's fine.
Yeah. Agreed.
It can be good with Betsy's Overpower, and I think that's about it.
That's definitely the best use case for it, I think. Yeah, otherwise, like the numbers you have to say for it are, like 2 or 3 before you're just getting your opponent to dump the whole hand in front of it, and then you just spent a card and didn't have anything real to show for it. You got them to block, but yeah.
And at 1 and 2 is your card worth 1 Might token? Probably not. Yeah, it's a C. Yeah. It's a blue block 3. You'll play it.
Yep.
You won't draft it highly.
All right, let's move on to our Clash of Might. So this is a Brute Guardian attack. Costs 2, blocks 3, attacks for 6, 5, or 4. When this defends, clash with the attacking hero. The winner creates a Might token. Solid role player. This is, there's a cycle of these for all the, the dual, there's 3 different Clash ofs for each of the dual class pairings. I think Clash of Might is like innocuous but solid. It's not, it's definition of a, like a C to C plus type card. I think the red one gets
fine.
bonus
I feel
points
like
for being a 6,
Might.
That's it.
Yeah, the Might token I feel like is the worst of the, like, if 1 Might token versus 1 Vigor token versus 1 Agility token, like I'm rating the Might token, if you've got one of them, as the least powerful. So it's just not as cool
it's
as
fine.
the others.
It's cool because maybe you get some value off of defense, but then again, if you're forced to block with this into a deck that's built to try and clash, the fact that you have to clash when you block with it can be a liability too. So hit or miss, but card's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Up
next up,
next, we have a split cycle. These are still at rares. So the first is Battered Not Broken only comes in red. It is a 0-cost Brute Guardian instant. The next time you would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 2 of that damage if you do create a Might token. So I like this card quite a bit. I have it around B-. It is something that you will always get 3 value out of, and it's kind of like a D-React, being an instant that blocks 2 damage. So it's fine. I think you need to pick up a number of these in your deck because there are attack reactions in the set, and this lets you play around those. And that's about it. It's like, a low
yeah,
B, a high C.
yeah, I think this is like we were talking about with the might token versus vigor versus agility. I think that's why this is the lowest, likely the
Yeah.
lowest impact of the 3 variants of this.
Yep.
But it's fine.
I'm just
Alex
not
seems to
interested in
hate
this
it.
card. I rated this an F. I'm not sure if I'm ever picking this. The prevent 2 is cool if you specifically need a D-React. I get it. But I think I'd just rather take a 2-block non-attack action that's blue maybe instead of red. I'm not crazy about it.
Fair.
Well, can I interest you in a test of might? Because this is a Brute Guardian block that blocks 4. And when it defends, you clash, the winner makes a might token.
That is definitely more interesting.
What, doubling the defensive value and suddenly you're okay with the card? What's up with that?
Yeah, being able to block for 4 and still make a might token, probably. Yeah, I'm much more interested in that, which is why I rated it a B.
Yeah,
And
we have
so
this
did
as a B
everybody
across
else.
the board.
Yeah.
It's just a good card.
I think this is probably my pick for the best of the test of cards in the set, the 4 defense block cards. Just because the downside of losing the clash and giving away a might token is the least impactful. And if you get it, you're happy, and if nothing happens, then that's fine. You still got to get your 4 value from your block card.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see it.
On the subject of
All right.
block cards, Wall
Another
of
block
Meat
card. We've
and
got.
Muscle.
Go ahead, Kevin.
All right. When this defends, if you control a might token, you may put an attack action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. It is a Brute Guardian block that blocks for 3. I think it's easy enough to have might tokens, especially as KO above all else. But being able to block for 3, I guess it remains to be seen how frequently the fatigue factors into these games versus just being able to kill your opponent before that really is the most important thing in the game. But a card that is, getting you 3 defense and rebuying an attack action card to the top of your deck, no less, so you can rebuy something that maybe guarantees a hit for a Bear Fangs that's in hand, or it's. I think the upside's here. I like it a lot. I still only have it rated as a C because it's red.
I think this card sucks. It's a red 3-block, and it's a block card. You can't arsenal it, and it doesn't have a explicit impact on the game in terms of value. If you do happen to get the trigger, so it's like a red 3-block that you're forced to block with. I'm not about it. It's an F.
Also an F. Not interested. I do like your thought though, Kevin, of if you can block with it and rebuy a card for Bear Fangs or Wild Ride. I do like that specific case, but I don't know if I'm willing to run a red 3-block that doesn't do anything else other than that in my draft deck.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, and I didn't rate it really highly. I have it as a C minus kind of territory, but.
So, continuing our discussions about how might are the worst of the 3 tokens, we have the start of the wind-up cycle. Mighty Wind-Up is a red 3-cost 7-power attack that blocks 2. and it's a Brute Guardian action attack, and it has an activated ability as its text spots, kind of like Rally the Rearguard. If you're familiar with that card, as an instant, you can discard it and create a might token at instant speed. This one, you really have to get a lot of value out of that might, because otherwise you are getting one value out of this card.
Unless you KO, then you
I'm
get 2 value out of it.
At red,
Big
it's
brain.
3 for 7. At blue,
Yeah, 3 for 7 is good.
At blue or at yellow, it's kind of whatever. At blue, KO, it's still 6. Discarding, you can turn on the claws by discarding it and then get a might token. So you get like an action point and a might.
And
But
another might.
yeah,
But you would just
but-
always rather this is agile wind up.
100% of the time.
it's
This is
meh.
you don't want
this
this.
is-
You'll play this.
It is straight up a C. Might
Firmly.
be a C minus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed. Next up,
Speaking of C's,
Rising Power, a Brute Guardian attacks for 6, 5, or 4, costs 2, blocks for 2. If you've drawn a card this turn, this gets +1. Meh. Resounding meh. The cost curve doesn't work with gold tokens to actually turn the buff on. So it's, you'll run it because it's a 6, and
Cost
that's
curve
about it.
also doesn't work with Wild Ride.
there's a lot about this card where it's like, oh, this is a cool interaction, and almost always your resources aren't going to support that. It's fine. It's a C minus. A card that is not a C or C minus is a Wage Might, which I think we might be rating collectively a little lowly. So this is the start of the Wage cycle. It's a 3 cost, 7 power, 2 block. We've been hearing that a lot recently. When it attacks, you may wager a might token with the hero you are attacking. So when the attack resolves, if it hit, you get a might. If they blocked it out, they get a might. I think this ends up being, again, the worst of the Wage cycle. Poor might tokens. Because your opponent spends 3 cards to block a 7 power attack. They probably can spend the might on their weapon, swinging with a single card. But waging is really good. Betsy especially loves to do it.
Yeah, and
Poison.
Again, the fact that the might token on average has the least amount of teeth among the tokens means it's also the least devastating to lose your wager, which still keeps this fine, and activates various wager texts. But
yeah,
assuming that you win the wage, it's 2 card 8, which is good.
Yeah, I mean it's a high C.
Yep. I think it's better than the last 2 cards that we just talked about, the Mighty Windup and Rising Power, because
Agreed.
it actually has an on.
Oh yeah, for sure, sure.
I think it's still middling.
This next card is just solid value. It's nothing totally insane, but Lead with Power is a Brute Guardian action, costs 1, blocks 2. Your next Brute or Guardian attack this turn gets +3. Create a might token, go again. So the red version
Guardian
of this,
go again.
yeah, only because it shares with Brute. That's why. But I mean, this is just the weirdest looking leg tap you've ever seen. But it's one cost, 4 points of value for it. I think you love to play the red version. I think it's better. It's almost certainly better in Brute because of the cost curve with the weapons. That said, Guardians also get Vigor tokens, and if you get to Lead with Power into Hammer off of Vigor in a blue, like that's a pretty solid turn cycle. Like we all have this at like B plus to A territory for most of them. The red's phenomenal, and the other ones are absolutely serviceable.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not an attack gives it half a letter grade for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
Well,
then we move to what I think is the best common equipment in the set, which is flat trackers. Uh, Brute Warrior legs, Blade Break 1. Action, destroy this, create an agility token, go again. Um, Being able to queue up your go again for the following turn, and in the meantime turn on any if you control an agility token synergies is great. And if you're in a rough spot and you need an extra point of life, it's there for you. It can be that seventh point to stop the Wage Might from hitting.
I think
Yeah.
this is... Sorry, go ahead.
The more I look at this card, the more I think it's closer to an A than a B, and I should revise my grade. It's really good.
Yeah, the fact that it's dual class also can't be understated for keeping you open. I think
Mm-hmm.
people will definitely practice and be able to play all six heroes, all three classes. But I would say the majority of people out there will find what hybrid lane they favor and lean that way. And if warrior and brute are your jam and there's a flat trackers pack one pick one to take, and nothing else like bomby or over the top, pack one pick one flat trackers sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people at the celebrational just breaking this turn 0 or turn 1, which I agree with. You just get the agility tokens rolling, which like leads directly into the warrior brute attack action majestic that's available, which is runner at red, cost 2, attacks for 6, blocks for 3. Then when it attacks, if it has go again, create an agility token. So if you start with an agility token and you play runner, it then gains go again, which then creates another agility token, and it kind of just rolls into each other just over and over again, which is just
Brutes and their
fantastic.
pyramid schemes.
I think if you
This,
if you see this card, you take this card,
yep,
and then
Yeah.
you play either warrior or brute.
easy A's across the board from all of us. The value's there. It blocks good. If you get to apply its text to your turn, you're gonna feel like you're getting away with murder. Like this is a
Mhm.
easily constructed tier playable card that doesn't really lose quite as much while being played in limited as a lot of other cards can. So, um,
Okay. The next cycle of cards, Clash of Agility. I didn't believe in this card until Kevin showed me what it looks like in KO, and oh my, this is a bit of a house. So it is a cycle of red, yellow, blue, um, 2 cost, 6 power, 3 defense or block. When this defends, clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates an agility token, which is incredible to have one card that is getting you 3 block and an agility, assuming that you win the clash. Now, there's a huge caveat there. I graded this card based on if, assuming you put it in Brute, it's really bad in Warrior because Warrior plays a lot of non-attack actions
yep,
that will lose clashes. But in Brute, I mean, this is like a high B plus. It's trending close to an A.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and I'm warrior favored, so I rated it a C. But yes, if you're playing brute, it's much better.
substantially better. Yeah, I think it's definitely the best of the clash of cycle of cycles.
Do you think that's just because agility is the best of the 3 tokens?
Uh,
Because that's kind
I
of
think
how I'm
it's because
feeling.
I'm probably like brute biased, but like yeah, so
Mm.
I think I think in a vacuum, it's the strongest of the three tokens, and I think also that card in the brute decks is going to be, you're going to be pretty good at clashing. You're going to clash phenomenally into warriors on average, and you're going to do just fine holding your own into guardians most of the time as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair.
Next, we've got Take It on the Chin. This is the Brute Warrior instant, cost 0, pitches for red. The next time you would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 2 of that damage. If you do, create an agility token. This is just another sort of, it's a role player. It's an enabler. It soaks some damage on the way to setting up whatever your big turn is. Um, yeah, I think it's just, I think it's better than battered, not broken, the one that gives you a might
Yeah,
token. But again,
I
that's
think
token diff. That's basically the long and
yeah,
the
this
short of it.
is easily the best of the cycle just because agility is that good. Um, I think it's like a high C. You just will want at least one or two of these in your deck if you can take them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Blocking two and getting a might. Nah, not for me. Blocking two and getting an agility token. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
A lot more in. Um, Run into trouble. This is a red block card. Blocks 3. When this defends, if you control an agility token, deal 1 damage to the attacking hero. Um, it's not great. It's still conditional. I rated it higher than either of them, but still only rated it a C minus. That's
Yeah.
probably that's probably a little generous because like dealing 1 unpreventable like is good. It can close games, but you know you're not going to have quite as much agency on average as you want to have an agility token when you need it for this card to shine. But
Here also is my problem with this is that if you have an agility that you made on your turn, and then you go into your opponent's turn, this card, like by design, is asking you to concede some tempo and block on your giant setup turn with your agility token, and you're getting ready to pop off with 5 cards. So it's just like I don't know in where in your play cycles is this like actually feel good just by what the card is designed to do. You can get this to be a 0 for 4, but I don't think it fits into the play patterns you actually want for it to be a 0 for 4.
that's a good point. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I downgraded. I put it into a D now. Um, but yeah, run into trouble. Not not what the doctor ordered. What the doctor might have ordered is a test of agility, uh,
Oh yeah.
which is a brute warrior block 4. When this defends, clash winner creates an agility token. This is another card that is not actually a warrior card because you're not going to be winning clashes as consistently as you'd like. This is just a brute card, and it's a pretty damn good one at that. I think we,
Mm-hmm.
we went B straight across the board. Um, there's a little bit of risk to. So this is one of the worst ones to lose the clash on, because if your opponent's already attacking you, and then you clash, they get an agility for their next turn before they draw up, and like they've just got that extra information for determining how they're going to defend your next turn,
Yeah.
and you increase the ceiling on what they can hit you with for sure. So this is definitely the most potentially punishing, but also the highest upside of the 4 test ofs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's good in brute, it's bad in warrior. Uh
Yeah,
B. B.
So
yeah,
another card that's really good in brute, and I won't say bad in warrior, but you're not as excited to play it as other cards, is agile windup, which is a brute warrior attack action. Uh, at red comes in for 7, yellow 6, blue 5. Attacks or cost 3, blocks for 2, and then uh, just like the previous wind up cycle, it has the instant discard this, create an agility token, which is incredible. It's got so in talking with brutes, you discard a 7/6/5, and you get to either intimidate or uh, trigger K's ability of I might turn on the claw, or you could just attack with it, which is
yeah.
also good, or discard it. It's just kind of doing everything that brute wants to do. And warrior, it's 3 for 7. Cool.
Yeah, I mean I think warrior is still playing all the copies of this card that they can get. Um it's just damage efficient, and like on turn 0 it's really good, right?
Yeah, the turn 0 agility free roll is pretty awesome. Um, yeah,
So
the red we've got as A's across the board, and then the other versions are B minus C plus kind of territory. Um,
breakpoint's too strong.
Breakpoints are great, and just flexibility. This is an attack action that is also secretly a non-attack action. You're just investing it in your next turn kind of thing. So very
So
strong.
next we have Rising Speed. This is another common cycle, Brute Warrior. 2 cost, 5 power, attack, blocks 2. If you've drawn a card this turn, this gets go again. I'm not about it.
Yeah, it's the 5 is okay. It's fine in KO because it's technically a 6, but I don't think the brutes of the class that don't have any inherent gold production. So
Yeah.
it's tough. So there's the world where you get to go wild ride from hand, draw discard, rising speed from arsenal into claw. Like that's really good. But even Dan called it out to me, and he's just like, "Oh, look, it's worse surging strike." And I was like, "Oh,
Really,
you're
really worse Surging Strike.
yeah." So this one
Yeah.
we've got in the C minus D
Yeah, I
territory.
think it might be closer to D. I initially rated it a C minus.
I
You
think
just
the
have to
ceiling,
work so hard to turn it on.
yeah, the ceiling of it is pretty high, like a 2 for 5 with go again and limited, pretty great. But the floor is pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Low C, high D.
Moving on to what I also think is probably the best wage attack, wage agility. Another 3 for 7, blocks for 2, brute warrior. Attack action. When it attacks, you can wager an agility token. So this has the opposite factor of test of agility. If your opponent is investing the cards and resources to defend wage agility, they're decreasing the likelihood that they're going to have the cards to effectively use it on the turn that it's going to pop for them. So,
Yeah.
I think, I think wage agility is just fantastic. It asks a really difficult to answer question and threatens to set you up massively. And if they invest the resources to stop you from getting that, their turn is going to be crippled, and they're not really going to. They're very unlikely to get a ton of value out of the agility. I guess in the
Yeah, I
warrior
mean,
world where they're dual wielding, if they block with 3 cards and they can go like sword, but you can just say no blocks on your pair of Centauri sabers, take 4. Like it's just it's not that threatening.
yeah, I think this is a premium card that you pick very early in draft. We're talking low Bs, high Cs.
That's fair.
So
I have
speaking
the
of,
red specifically as an A minus, but again,
I
probably
could
just
see
biased.
the red going that high. I could see the red going that high.
yeah, I think my rating of a C is probably a little bit too low for the red. But another powerhouse card is Lead with Speed, which is a brute warrior action. Cost 1. Your next brute or warrior attack action this turn gets +3. Sorry, not attack action. Your next brute or warrior attack this turn gets +3. Create an agility token. Go again. Blocks 2. Uh,
Oof.
we across the board that red rated this an A. I gave all of them an A because agility tokens are fantastic. But the yellow and blue you two gave a B, which is
Uh,
fine. I
They're
have a
still
warrior
very good.
bias.
Yeah, fair.
They're
They're
still very good.
still very good. They're just not like I'm not picking non-red lead with speeds over most of the other stuff we've rated A's so far.
Yeah, I think it's a solid card.
Yeah.
I
It's a non-attack
it's
action,
it's
so it's good
good.
at
It's
blocking warrior
good.
stuff.
It's I don't know. Yeah.
And just having full agency over like this card just has create an agility token in text written on it, and that's really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, cool.
Whew, we're getting there.
Right.
So next up, we have the last of the dual class equipment. Vigor Girth is a common Guardian Warrior equipment chest. This is Blade Break 1, and you might have guessed it. The action to destroy it is creating a Vigor token with Go Again. definitely the second best of the three. I think the agility is better, but every limited format has that kind of like one-time Fyendel Spring Tunic knockoff. This is no exception. It's reasonably good.
Yeah, I mean there
Um,
are cards that care about having or having controlled them. If you draw up, okay, I guess it's a majestic, so it's going to happen pretty rarely. But if you draw up that 5 for 9, that's like I care about vigor tokens. You're like, sweet, pop this, arsenal that, block with 3 cards. Here comes 9. Like it's quite uh, quite nice to just have agency over a token like that for sure.
yeah, I mean you're taking this at around a B plus, I think. Um, Maybe an A minus in terms of very fairly pack one pick oneable.
Good equipment, no notes.
Do you want to
So
double down on that opinion, Alex?
Yeah, I will certainly double down and take down this next card. Double down. Red Majestic Guardian Warrior action that costs 2 and blocks 3. You may destroy a gold you control rather than paying double down's cost. The next attack that wagers this turn gets +3 and overpower. If a hero would create one or more tokens from a wager this turn, instead they create that many +1 of each of those tokens. Go again. A's across the board.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
this card demands a lot of build around and setup, but it's just really good if you can get it off.
yeah, I mean, and even if you're not getting to pay the alternate cost for it, it's still like the value's still there, even if you're paying resources for it. Um,
You also can do gross stuff with this and Olympia with his Galea, like playing double down and then swinging a weapon and just smiling at your opponent and giving it, +3 in reaction speed, because this will see it become the first wagered attack in the reaction step when you break Galea.
Yeah. This is Betsy's ability, but +2 damage
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
as an action card.
Yeah. It's just an A. It's a
full stop.
non-attack
A.
action 3 block.
It's
A.
it's it's a reason to put yourself into one of those classes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Clash of Vigor. This one we have firm C's across the board. It's a 2 for 6, 5, or 4 Guardian Warrior attack action, blocks for 3. When it defends, Clash, winner gets a Vigor token. Um, pretty in line with the Clash of Might. It's a fine thing to play. Warriors aren't really going to want to block with it because they're not winning clashes. So probably gives a little more edge to the Guardian players wanting this, but um, it honestly, and for the Guardians and the people that care about clashing specifically, it's probably better just because it says clash, right? Like the fact that it's a
Yeah.
vigor token doesn't really matter as much as you get to clash. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, plenty of synergies there, but C plus range.
Yeah. What about Slap Happy, which might be my least favorite art in the set just because it's so uncanny.
This is unsettling.
Yeah, unsettling. That's the good word for it. So this is a 0 cost Guardian Warrior instant red, not a cycle. The next time you would be the next time you would be dealt damage this turn, prevent 2 of that damage. If you do, create a vigor token. This is fine if you need a pseudo D-react. Vigor is reasonably good. It's no agility. Yeah, so I think we're at like we're kind of stricken between B's and D's, and it averages out to C plus, which I think is probably correct for this card.
Yeah, this one I think actually reads more of a warrior card because they have the
I
one
agree
cost
with that.
weapons. So
Yeah.
if you have a turn where you're blocking a little more heavily, you throw up Slap Happy, you get a resource to start your turn, swing a saber for 2 or 3, pull a card, and then arsenal something if you can. But just the fact that you get to threaten offense after defending is real strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy about it. That's like the best case scenario is you're the end game grind and you prevent 2, create a vigor token, and then swing for 2. Then it becomes a card for 4, which is okay. But I feel like every other point of the game, I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather it be something else.
Fair, fair. Hardy Block. It is a Guardian Warrior block card that blocks for 3. When this defends, if you control a Vigor token, gain a point of life. Um, I think this just has the same issues from the other block cards we've talked about.
This card is just boring. it's it's fine.
Consider
It's
Rhea
not.
uninterested.
Yeah, I am. It's technically like a C minus. I'll put it in my deck. I will not be excited about it. It's whatever.
Yeah, fair.
We have it at a D plus right now. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, seems reasonable. And then our
Uh,
last. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna put Test of Vigor up.
Yeah, for sure. So test of vigor is our last 4. That's not true. We have the gold test later. But it is a 4-block Guardian Warrior block card. When this defends clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates a Vigor token. Very good in Guardian, pretty mediocre in Warrior. I think this ends up being around a B in Guardian. Very solid. Turns on the like 4 power attacks. If you ever get this and you flip a wall up, you're going to be really happy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Yeah,
block 4. It's
it's a
fine.
B. It's just a Guardian block 4,
Yeah.
basically. Then we get to my opinion the best of the Rising cycle of cycles. Rising Energy is a 2-cost 6-power attack Guardian Warrior typing, blocks for 2. But if you've drawn a card this turn, this costs 1 less to play. And you know what this does? This works really well with the cost curve of breaking a gold on your turn.
Sure does.
I hadn't even realized that Rising was was a mini cycle in the set. That's interesting that you point that out.
Yeah.
Rising Energy is in my Warrior Constructed decks currently, so
Wow. Maybe I'm undervaluing this card.
Yeah, I think they're like it's not doing anything utterly incredible, but I think because it fits well with the gold curve on turns, I think that's why it's we basically have the red rated as well, Ray and I have B pluses, Alex has an A, but yeah, a turn that's break a gold to get a card that you are going to arsenal into 6-power attack. That's a pretty good 2-card hand.
to me this is E-Strike draw card, but instead of being for 5, it's for 6.
You really like comparing things to E-Strike, huh?
You know?
It's a pretty good litmus test, I got to admit. Everything is head jab, right?
Every good card is at least head jab.
Next we have Vigorous Windup. Oh, sorry. And then the non-reds we have as C for Rising Energy. They're just
Yeah.
they're fine. Vigorous Windup is the 3 costs for 7, 6, or 5 attack, 2 block, instant. Discard this, create a Vigor token. Uh, we have C's and a little bit of C plus across the board. It's fine. It's a 3 for 7. You'll play it. The discard ability is not as impactful as the agility one, which I'm sure you've noticed by now is a heavy motif of a lot of these hybrid cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very mediocre. There is one important thing about this card, though. This is my personal front runner for favorite art in the set. Yes.
Yeah, the art is sick.
It is. Yeah, the lighting is great. There's a really good depth of field. It's good stuff.
Shout out
C
to
plus.
Camille Alcurer?
Oh,
I can't.
Kier.
I don't know
I'm
how
not
to
familiar
pronounce
with.
their last name, but your art is
Mm,
wonderful. Thank you for
yes.
making it. Uh, Wage Vigor, uh, same as the other ones. It's likely more about the fact that this is a 7 power attack that can wager than the fact that you're wagering a Vigor token. Um, we've got it in like a B minus kind of territory for the red, C's for all the other ones, as is the way with all of these wage cards. Um,
Yeah, it's going to be a critical common for Betsy and just okay outside of that.
yeah,
So I'm around a, C, maybe a high C.
it's another one of the ones where the like losing the wager on it is, sometimes it'll line up to where it's like, ooh, having or not having the bigger token here really stings, but
Yeah.
like it's not like giving away an agility token. So
Yeah. Okay, last dual class card, Lead with Heart. This is a Guardian Warrior non-attack action. It blocks 2. It costs 1. Your next Guardian or Warrior attack this turn gets +3 power. Create a Vigor token. Go again. Yeah. So I mean, this card is head jab, so it's just it's an A plus, right?
It's kind of more than
Uh,
that technically if you're a warrior, because you creating a vigor for the next turn means even if you have to fully block out, you can still swing for 2 off the Sasari Saber.
so it potentially represents
5,
5 to 6
yeah.
damage being thrown at
I
your
mean,
opponent.
it's
maybe.
quite good. We have it at around a B, B minus
Solid
across
B
the
on the
board.
red. I think it's a little gets more worse in the other colors, but again,
I can see that.
serviceable.
All right, we're almost done.
We're
Generics.
getting there.
All right, take another quick pause.
Bathroom breaks, everyone, huh? Wait, everyone, don't move, and
Okay,
then I'll cut.
welcome
Yeah.
back.
Okay,
Balance of
so
Justice, last L of the
yeah,
set. It's awesome. It's really good. It would have been great when Lexi was around. It's still gonna be good, even though that's not true anymore.
Too little, too
Play it
late,
in sealed.
Brian.
It's delightful. It's a little too slow on the print cycle, but it's okay. You get A for effort.
this art also is in the running for best art in the set.
Fantastic. Yeah, the playmat they are gonna make of it is gonna look phenomenal.
Mm.
Yeah, card's great. No
And then we
notes.
take about 8 steps down to Glory Seeker as the next generic headpiece. This is a generic equipment head. It does not have any defense value, and it has 1 activate ability of an instant speed. Pay 3 resources and destroy it to draw a card.
Yeah, this has
Uh,
niche applications. If you are uh, if you're a brute who randomly ended up with this and you had to get one of those bad blue wild rides, you can turn that into a fresh card that hopefully blocks. I'm certain there are situations where as Kasai, you're like, I guess let's just make these weapons free and get a fresh card for our trouble. It's
I'll take any of the specialization helmets over this. I
Literally any
will
of them.
take any card that blocks over this. I'm not interested.
that's
I
fair.
I
I'm sure
think
there's niche
There's look,
applications,
pick
but
14 niche applications.
I
sure.
think this might be the most last picked card in the set.
That's fair. We've got D's across the board. No, Alex has a C, but it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, you can put it in your
I,
deck.
I,
I will put it in
I,
my deck
if I
if
get
I have
if
no
I
other
get stuck
head.
with it, whatever. But
Do you
uh,
know where it's not awful? Is it with the Rising series? Because it just turns them on, spending no cards from hand.
True.
But you've given up a headpiece, and
And you
hopefully
might
you
not
drafted
draw.
a
You might not draw
specialization
another
head.
blue too, so you might be like
Yeah,
going down resources for it. But
yeah,
this next one is one I think I would prefer to have over Glory Seeker personally, which is Sheltered
absolutely.
Cove. Generic head equipment, instant, pay 3, destroy this. The next time you'd be dealt damage this turn, prevent 2 of that damage. This is one of the few ways to sort of defense react,
Hmm.
and or if you have a brute blue no block card, turn that into a semblance of defense.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, it's fine. This is one of the better headpieces if you don't draft a specialization, but it's not where you want to be in this format, right? So it's like a D plus. Oh, y'all have it closer to C. I rated it a D.
I think it's fine if you don't get the specialization helmets, then I'm fine taking this later in a pack.
yeah, definitely all of the the other helmets over this. Speaking of tier 2 helmets,
Yeah,
Face Adversity is a Blade Break 2 equipment that may only defend an attack if the attack's controller has drawn a card this turn. Uh, Again, this is definitely because
that
people
ability
people are
is
gonna hold out for the better helmets. This is like, yeah, I think the last three cards we've talked about will be frequently pick 13, 14 cards that come to you.
yeah. Yeah. This one also, it's of the adversity cycle, which we're covering right now, it is the hardest to turn on so that you can block with it. Drawing cards happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. So this is going to look a lot more just like +2 life and not stop a critical on hit.
It
Yeah,
happens
that's true.
most against Olympia because he has more gold than most
Mm-hmm.
heroes, and then against KO, who's got the Wild
The draw
Ride
discards.
and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bear Fangs draw this card.
I think the rest of the adversity cycle is better. So it comes also in the chest, arms, and leg pieces, and they care about if your opponent has destroyed a vigor, might, or agility token this turn, which is what lets you block with them for Blade Break 2. These, so each of these have one matchup where they're not very useful unless you are giving your opponent a token because you're losing a clash that you introduced. Because each class only has access to 2 out of the 3 tokens, but they are serviceable because 67% of the time you'll be able to gain 2 life out of them in a given matchup.
Yeah, they're
There's
fine.
still
They're
they're
late picks for sure.
yeah they're like the definition of C's.
You know, not really serviceable though.
The the UPF cycle that we
Yeah,
can't even have a name for because they don't have a unified name.
All
headliner
right,
Yeah.
helm, stadium
headliner
centerpiece,
helm.
ticket
There you go.
puncher, grandstand leg plates, and bloodied oval.
Now,
Uh,
now I want to evaluate Bloodied Oval separate. So let's just talk about the armor right now.
Fair. So they all have the same type of text. They all have blade break, but a asterisk for their defense value. Headliner's helm's defense is equal to the number of opposing heroes with greater health than you.
Yeah.
Uh, so in a non-UPF game, the ceiling of this is Iron Rot equipment. Um,
One. Yeah.
Iron Rot 1. Yeah.
If if you are lower life than your opponent, you can Iron Rot one them. It's just not where you want to be. There's much better equipment in this set, and I
As
think these are just D's across the board.
Yeah, I think with the volume of equipment that's going to happen, because there's so much more equipment, there will be a few primo pieces that get taken, the rares, the good helmets and stuff, but there's going to be a downward pressure exerted that like equipment has to be like actually good to be taken before the end of the packs because you're just going to get past a ton of this at the end of most packs. And yeah, so like this isn't a format where it's going to be like, oh, you have all four equipment, like you know you must have like really prioritized it. No, everyone's going to have equipment. It's just a matter of, is your equipment loadout quality or is it a pile of headliner helms and bloodied ovals?
Yeah. So Bloodied Oval, I think, which is a offhand shield version with that same effect. It only blocks for 1 blade break if your opponent has higher life. I think this is serviceable in the Guardians actually. If if they don't have the clash shield and they don't have the grindstone, they're never they're not never because agility tokens exist, but I don't think they really ever want to double high riser their opponent. And so if you're just not getting any value out of your second one-hand slot, you might as well block one with a Bloodied Oval, which means it's like a C minus or a D plus, and you're only taking it if you're in Guardian and you don't have a better option. But I think it's fine.
Makes sense. Also, KO Bias says rude, bloodied oval. Uh, but we'll move into the
you
generic Majestics.
you
Uh,
can hold Bloodied Oval in your
it's true.
one-handed
It's
equipment
true. I
slot
can be
and
like
no weapon.
mandible claw. No, give me the shield that I can't even punch people with. Uh, so first majestic generic card, nasty surprise. This one is clearly a uber role player, largely intended for constructed. I can't think of a. I guess there is the one guardian attack that if the power is raised, it can force you to discard. But
Yeah.
I think that's the only
Well, there's
obligatory.
also there's multiple arsenal destruction effects in the set, so you just have to be brave enough to put a blue card that attacks for 0 for 2 in your arsenal and dare your opponent to destroy it.
I mean, the floor is not the worst. You just be like, all right, before the end of the game, I'll just send my nasty surprise for 2. It's 2 damage you wouldn't have
That would
otherwise.
be a
But
nasty surprise.
yeah,
Nasty surprise for the wrong player.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
a
D.
much better D, yeah, a much better generic equipment. Sorry, excuse me. Card is Pay Up. So this is a generic action attack, 6 power, 3 block, cost 3. I'm already in. If defending hero controls a gold, this gets overpower. I'm even more in. When this hits a hero, gain control of a gold token they control. If you don't, deal 1 damage to them. So this is Raging Onslaught or Kyloria, and it sometimes has overpower. It's great. This card's great.
Yeah,
I mean, that's aggressive, but
this is
I hear you.
probably like because it's a generic. This is like, please give me this in my opening pack. Just what are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm grabbing
it's
a
just the
great card
safest.
and still 100% open.
It's the safest pack one pick one in the set, probably.
Thinking of
I have to
other
make
just
sure. No. There's a better pack one pick one. Never mind. We'll get to it in a second.
And the better pack one
okay.
pick one
Well,
is not this
another
card, Ripple Away.
Yeah.
Uh,
yeah.
a 3 pitch, 2 cost, 3 block, 4 power generic attack that has the effect of instant discard this. If an action card would create 1 or more tokens this turn, instead it creates that many minus 1 of each of those tokens. Uh, there are rare circumstances where you could discard this to negate your opponent, like if they were simultaneously making you know an agility and a might and a gold or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that's the
So
extent of what it would have to counter to be worthwhile, I think.
so it laughs at Betsy's bet bids and it kicks your opponents down but not out when they are down, which we'll get to that card in a second. But it also is just like it's a blue 3 block and it is on rate in terms of attack per cost. It's same with Nasty Surprise. So like these aren't cards you won't put in your deck. I think there's a reasonable number of 2 blocks in the set that taking blue 3 blocks is a valuable thing to do. It's fine, not good. We're at like a C, just a C. I have it at a B right now. That's rated too highly.
A card
I
that
like
is
the art.
firmly in B territory, Standing Order. It's a red 0 cost, 4 power, 3 block attack action. When this attacks or defends, you may put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. If you do, this gets +2 power and +2 defense. Uh, I think this is possibly most of our pick for best generic in the set.
For constructed, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
This is also my vote for best art in the set. Really,
It's a good
really
one.
it is a
fan.
good one.
Big fan.
We rated Standing Order like B's and B plus across the board. It's very solid. It's a little worse in the brutes for the obvious lower power, but being able to turn an arsenal card into extra defense in a pinch is again really powerful in a set that does not have defense reactions.
This is also the only red 0 for 4 attack in the entire set, which feels relevant to mention. So it has quite a bit of merit just on it is the best one card hand in the set, unless you're doing cute things with gold.
Yeah, fair. Next up is Tenacity. It's a yellow attack, costs 0, attacks for a base of 2, blocks for 3. When this attacks, it gets plus X, where X is the number of defending cards on the combat chain. I think this is fine
It's a
but
constructed card.
unexciting. Yeah, it's far more a constructed card. The ninjas are gonna love this, possibly even Bolton, maybe. Uh,
Yeah, but
but
in Mini Unlimited, it's like a C minus. It's
right, like
just
the
maybe
ceiling
you
on
get to
it.
attack for 4 with it.
Right, the ceiling on it in my mind is like, all right, I had an agility token, I swing a another wage card or something large, and they block with 3 cards, and then you get to follow up with tenacity as a 0 for 5. But that's
That's a
magical
lot
Christmas
of
land.
work.
Yeah, exactly. So we're
And
not
also,
going to bend over backwards for it.
if they don't take your bait, and your tenacity is a follow up for 2, you just feel awful.
Correct. But also, if they're just not blocking you, you're just going to punch them in the face for 2 more damage. They're not
That's
blocking.
true.
So,
That's true.
um, or really just pitch it for a weapon was probably better.
Okay. Well, our
Last
last
majestic.
majestic, we're same wavelength.
Yeah.
This is Seduce Secrets. Look at target. It's a yellow 0 cost generic instant. Look at target hero's hand and the top card of their deck. If this was played from Arsenal, draw a card. Ugh. This is kind of cute because it's a yellow card that goes to your graveyard and can draw a card in Kasai. And outside of that, it's just
That's not good enough.
does nothing. It just like actually does nothing. It's somewhere between a C minus and an F. We have it at a D minus right now, and that probably sounds about right.
Uh, Strictly better than a cracked bobble, for sure.
It is strictly better than Cracked Bobble.
Barely.
But yeah, but not by as much as
a
you'd
lot.
think. But moving on to cards that are substantially better than cracked bobble, down but not out. This is a full rare cycle that is a 3 cost, attacks for 5, 4, or 3, generic attack action, blocks for 3, and then when this attacks a hero, if you have less life and control fewer equipment and control fewer tokens than your opponent, this gets plus 3, overpower, and when this hits, create an agility, might, and vigor token. Uh, yeah, just to re-clarify, it has been confirmed that there are 3 separate requirements for this card. It is not
It's
actually
sad.
absurdly busted. It's just it is merely great.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yes. So even with that, this is like the red and the blue are both fantastic. Talk about a powerful blue to play in the second cycle of your deck. We're looking at like A's for those 2 colors, and the yellow is poor yellows. They're always a bit awkward, closer to a B plus.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no version of this is too bad. Like the red one's obviously
Oh yeah,
super the
absolutely.
best, but like and think about how these games are going to play it, right? People are going to have weird doofy colors of, wage XYZ that they're going to throw at you, and it's really easy to be, oh, I have down but not out and a blue in my hand. Well, I'll block for exactly the correct amount. Maybe I'll cash in a blade break or the last point of temper, but still let them hit you, win their wager, get a
Mm-hmm.
token. At the start of your turn, all your tokens pop and are gone, and now you've made sure that they have tokens, you have less equipment, and you let them hit you. So ideally, you'll also have less life, and suddenly this is the gassiest, 2 card 8+ value with evasion that you've ever seen. Um,
Yeah,
this card as a rare is really powerful. They could have printed just the red version as a majestic, and I wouldn't have thought twice about why
batted
that
an
card was
eye.
majestic. Yeah.
Gar-
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gardner on a Discord put the red one in his Riptide deck, And then I was like, oh, really? You don't want the blue one? He's like, wait, it comes in a cycle?
Yes, indeed.
That's
But yeah,
hilarious.
down but not out. Phenomenal card. Um, Next up, we've
Speaking of
got
another phenomenal card, we
Wage
Yeah.
got
Gold.
Wage Gold.
Oh my god, I see the end.
I know. Light at the end of the tunnel. All right, so we got a 3 cost, 7 attack, 2 block, generic attack action with the keyword universal. So while in any zone, this is the same class as your hero. And then when this attacks a hero, you may wager a gold token with them.
Is there anything in limited that cares about the universal? It has
Yeah,
major constructed
Yes.
all of
implications.
the like lead with cards care about your class types.
Oh,
So it just makes
All
sure
of
that
the
all of
warrior
the good buffs
reactions.
and the warrior reactions. Yeah.
great. Okay, okay.
Um, I still don't think that well, if you are uh, I don't know, half the heroes are like sweet gold, and the other half are like I don't care. So I think
Yeah,
for half of them, this is probably better than like wage might, wage vigor, and for the other half, it's worse because you're not going to do anything with the gold anyways necessarily. Like,
and then agility just ends up being the best in the cycle still.
yep, yes indeed.
Still 3
Um,
for 7 is good.
yeah, exactly. Three for
yeah, no, a
seven.
3 for 7's good.
We've got this
I
as
mean,
an A across the board. Uh, Extra points because it's a generic. It goes in whatever hero you end up in. So great pack
yeah,
one, pick one. Quickly diminishing to C's across the board for the yellow and blue versions.
Yeah, the
yeah.
the
The
fact that it's
yellow
universal.
wages.
Sorry, the fact that it's universal means that beat chest you can like put on top of it if you need a gold token in KO for some reason, or the like reactions you can that target warrior attacks you can put onto this. So if you're Olympia or Kasai, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Next up, we've
yeah.
got. Oh, sorry.
I was just trying to comment the grades for wages fall off after the red because they're a lot easier to block at 6 and 5 power compared to the breakpoint of 7.
Yes,
Um,
indeed. Next up, we have Crucible of War throwback. Reinforce the line.
no
Um,
longer a $5 rare.
Dan
Wait, it was a
Gross's favorite card.
$5 rare? What?
Yes,
Oh my god.
yes. Reinforce the line was $5
I
before
was
this reprint.
briefly wealthy and didn't even realize it. Dang. Someone tell me next time. But reinforce the line. Also, unique position. It's going to be more heavily drafted than it would be in a lot of past sets because we still, again, don't have defense reactions. This is the closest
Mhm.
thing to an honest to goodness defense reaction in the set. It still isn't fully universal. Like, I think both Brutes and Guardians get better use out of Reinforce the Line than Warriors because they have so many more reactions and non-attack actions. But this is we were talking about block cards. That's uber downside of you can't arsenal that, but you can arsenal Reinforce the Line and feel really good about
Yeah,
it. Um,
absolutely.
I rated it a little bit lower than the both of you to a B, but yeah, the versatility on it. Yeah, like both of you put it the red as an A, and I can definitely see that ending up correct. Especially also Betsy overpower. Great. I don't care about your overpower. I blocked another 4. Um,
Yeah.
Card's just
The
solid
card
and gets worse in worse colors.
The red is an A for me because a lot of the cards we also rated A's are 7 power, which means I block
Hmm.
3 block attack action and then reinforce the line, and now I've blocked 7 with 2 cards.
That is a very important point. It's the only 2 card block in the set that can do that outside of the tests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Um,
reinforce solid.
just
Next
a
up,
handful more cards left. We are almost there.
almost
Adrenaline
there.
Rush is a reprint from Monarch. It is a cycle of red, yellows, and blues. Costs 2. Only attacks for 4 at red, and it blocks 2. But when you play it, if you have less life than an opposing hero, it gets +3 power. What's the joke here? What's the gimmick here? This was good in Monarch because it had an augmented power for Bolton. It's a fine like 2 for 7 in this set, but I don't understand the synergy that makes it why it's included. It's it's a C, like it is an attack that is sometimes a 2 card 7, so you'll put it in your deck, but it's just okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I guess. Well, no, it's a generic, so it doesn't even work for that one random warrior majestic.
Yeah.
I think it's just meant to be, you know, a wounded bull type card for this limited environment. I don't think there's much more to read into it than that.
I
But
guess it
it's
is.
probably better
Oh,
in. It's probably a little bit better in warriors than some of the other classes, especially like if there's hot streak and stuff. Just like the 2 card, if you have an agility token, the 2 card hand of sword into adrenaline rush is really strong.
I, I think I've got it actually. I think this is a way for them to print a 2 for 6 slash a 2 for 7, but it doesn't win clashes in any deck.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it's a 4 while it's in your deck, so it's going to lose most clashes. So you're still incentivized to play class cards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this is definitely, like C minus territory. You want most
Yeah.
class cards over this most of the time.
Speaking of C minus and probably closer to a D, we have performance bonus, which is not outperforming its last quarterly earnings. They print a version of this card in every set. It's a 0 for 3 attack at red. It also comes in yellow and blue, scaling down its power. It blocks 2. When it hits, create a gold token. And if it was played from Arsenal, it gets go again. There's competition in this set alone for other cards that specifically want to be arsenaled. We'll get to trade in just a second. This has a pretty potent on hit, but it doesn't attack at a breakpoint. I'm just not really about it. It's just a D.
Yeah, I rated it the same as you. Alex rated it as a C. It's not exciting. It's really easy to block out. And if they're letting it hit, they've decided that you getting an extra gold token doesn't really matter in the situation. So,
Yeah.
just not. Yeah, this is late draft chaff type card.
Yeah.
Uh, Going back to another Monarch favorite, Rally the Rear Guard. This is a generic attack action. Uh, 2 cost, attacks for 6, 5, or 4, blocks 2, and then has the ability once per turn instant, discard a card. This gets +3 defense. Activate this only while this is defending. So, uh, Rhea rated Rally the Rearguard a D across the board. Alex rated it a C across the board. I put a B for the red one. Uh, Being a 6,
Whew.
score some points. It's a defensive trick, right? Like you can block with this on something, and if the warrior is like, well, pump it by 3, you're like, okay, cool, me too. It's I think the
It's
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a defensive trick, but the trick involves you blocking with a 2 block to start, which is pretty underwhelming. I thought this was relevant in Monarch because it's a popper for Illusionist. Now here you still get the value of upgrading brute null blocks into a functional 3 blocks through the discard ability.
It also
Um,
helps you block overpower.
it does help people. Okay, yeah, all right, I can see that then. I
Avoiding
hadn't
the
considered that interaction.
avoiding the brute no blocks and the overpower is why I have given it a C.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to talk me up higher on it. I mean, a red 2 for 6 is never bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Rally the Rearguard is the chaff that I want to see at the end of the pack, right? The like I'll take Rally over Performance Bonus, Adrenaline Rush in similar bad colors at the end of the pack, like
Mhm.
very easily. Um,
Yeah, I can see that.
uh,
Um, Next up, we have another reprint from a relatively recent set. This is Trade In from Uprising. It's light performance bonus. It's a 0 for 3, 2, or 1, blocks for 2. If it's played from Arsenal, it has go again. But it has a non-attack trigger, not a non-hit. When it attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. This is pretty relevant for multiple heroes in the set. So it's a discard outlet for Rhinar to trigger Intimidate, and you get to choose which card you're discarding. It also is a source of card draw for Kasai to make her weapons free. It's reasonable in red, I think, because of those synergies if you're playing one of those heroes. And that falls off really quickly at yellow and blue. So it's like a C at red, and then it's a D for the other colors.
Yeah, I think even if you're looking at it, if you're not in a game where the fatigue aspect is super relevant, if you play this out of Arsenal as Kasai and get a free sword swing to follow it, like the yellow is a tolerable rate because you still, whatever card you draw off the discard is now your next Arsenal. Like it's not great by any means, but like
Mm-hmm.
in specifically Kasai, I think she makes best use of any color of this better than basically all the
Mm-hmm.
other heroes.
I agree with that.
But yeah, we have a C on the red, and then D's D plus average rating for the yellows and blues. Um, all right, Crucible of War again.
Everybody's favorite reaction, lunging
That
fortress.
that one card everybody has tried to put in their deck at some point in time.
The Vincent
It's
Hive
a
Mind was on it about a week or two ago. That was like the flavor of the week thing to try.
blue, 0 cost, attack reaction, blocks 2. Target attack action card gets +1.
Short, sweet, and
That,
simple.
that's it. May your
I think this is.
CNCs hit for 1.
I think this is really good in a set that's full of wager that really wants to hit. It's also just a blue. It's not embarrassing to arsenal it, assuming that you have an on hit to push later. I'm not taking it first pick, but I think it's a reasonable B minus.
Yeah, I think like you're pretty good with getting the first one. It's going to drop off rapidly in paying
Yes.
dividends. Like the first one is a nice got
Yes.
you. You pitch it early and they know it's coming later. Like you get some value there, kind of like when you like, oh, well, I've only played one pummel, but I pitch it, so they're thinking about it the whole game. Is there more?
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great point. Yeah, talk about a card that doesn't work in multiples nearly as
yeah.
well.
Um, well, we're gonna put our money where our
Yeah.
mouth is. Uh, Generic action. Money where your mouth is. Costs 1, blocks 2. Your next attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager a gold token with them. It's a
I,
weird variant
I'm
on Come to Fight, but it's kind of cool.
I'm shocked this is a common. It feels like a rare to me. I think it's very good, and we have rated it appropriately. Red and yellow, we have it B plus and B minus. Blue, it's not a very big power bonus, and you're trying to wager, which means you really want the follow up attack to hit, so it's closer to a C, but it's still a blue. This card's just great. It's really good in Victor. It's reasonable in Betsy, because you pitch a blue to play this and trigger Betsy's ability when you wage the attack. I think it's just all around pretty strong, though it ends up being a Guardian card or preferred by the Guardians.
I don't even know if that's necessarily true though. Like you can,
I
well,
think Olympia loves this as well.
yeah,
Well, maybe just everyone except the brutes love
it's
it.
just good. Well, and even in the brutes, it's not the worst, right? It's a okay. Your 2 card 6 that they need to double block to get the token and deny you it, but honestly, they probably don't care if a brute gets a gold token because like what they're not really doing much synergistic
They're
with it.
not going shopping.
Yeah.
And Mikao's not going mitten shopping.
Yep. Ironically, near the end, we have Starting Stake, which is A lone common only comes in yellow. We've got this as we got a couple Fs and a D for this card. Its
So
virtue at the end of a pack is that it blocks for 3.
it blocks for 3 and it's a non-attack action, which got pointed out on coverage of the crawling, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's not an F. It is mildly playable, but you never want to be spending your action point on this card, I don't think.
D minus.
D minus.
Yeah, not ideal. Um, but
And
all right,
then
last
another one of
but
the
not least.
yeah, talk about one of the better pack one pick ones in the set, and it's the last card in the set. We are looking at Test of Strength. It is a generic block for 4. When this defends clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates a gold token, and they might as well say Victor's specialization underneath there because that's the deck that it's like Miles best in. But I'm playing this in my non-warrior decks, I think.
I mean, it's a block 4.
Yeah, and it is in every deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the other block 4s, I think the floor of it is a B because it blocks 4.
Yeah, I mean we pretty unanimously have it at a B right now, and I'm happy with that. And that's it. Only
Only 3 hours and 20 minutes.
239 cards.
We did it. We
We
did it.
did it. So next up is the 4-hour discussion on the expansion slot cards, right?
Yes, let me pull up Sonata
All right.
Galaxia.
If you got to the end of this podcast slash video, put in the comment section balloons, and we'll see how many people get there.
God. Yeah, and if you type in balloons, maybe we'll do a fun giveaway. Yeah, there we go. Type in balloons.
All right.
I got
Kevin's
something
committing
cool.
to that, not me.
I'm done. I'm in. I got it. I've got a cool metal resource token with someone's name on it after we raffle
Oh
it
wow,
off. Yeah.
that's
There you go.
exciting.
Deal. Uh,
What a
but
way to
yeah,
celebrate our first set review. I don't
yes.
know that I want to do this again. I thought I really wanted to do this.
Nah,
That was a lot.
this was a lot. I also had some thoughts in the middle of it about how we can better organize in the future, but we did it. We got through. We brute forced our way through the entire heavy hitter set. We will make the spreadsheet available, and you guys can check it out at the leisure. We'll probably come back at some point.
Description
It'll be
below.
much more abbreviated than what we did today to revise or be like, wow, we were super off on this card, because that's always fun. Um, so you can keep us honest if we end up being super off on a few things, uh, more likely than not. But yeah, so thanks for sticking with us through a very long set review. Hopefully you watched it on 1.5 speed, because I sure would. Um, but yeah, we will call it a wrap here. Thanks as always to Croony Moons for our delightful theme song that we've got at the end here. We'll be back in 2 more weeks with a more of a constructed, focused conversation about heavy hitters and its impact on the CC beta. And yeah, until then, we'll catch you later. Thanks for hanging out with the IP3.